the modern defense. Have a look on this position because once you're able to understand what is happening for black, you'll know everything there is to learn about the modern defense. And that's what you're about to learn today. I'm going to be teaching you guys all the moves, the middle game plan, some traps good at player, the theory, everything. In addition to that, I already created a video explaining the full theory of the modern defense, and you could find that in the description. So if you're trying to master the modern defense, watch this full video. Apply what I teach, and watch your ratings goes through the roof. Picking things off in the 500 region. Today, I'm going to be showing you guys the modern defense. It's a very easy setup to follow. In fact, the first 8 moves that you play, it's like we're always going to get that same exact setup. That's what we're going for. So the idea is we're trying to go for a double fianchetto type of position. So notice how we already fianchetto the bishop here. D6 is just to control the center, and it also allows our knight access to the D7 square. Now we don't mind that we're blocking out this bishop because this bishop is going to be fianchetted. So I like to start with A6 with the idea of playing B5. So that way we fianchetto the bishop and we get space on the queen side. If they play A4, then we play B6 or C4. But once we're able to play B5, we will take the space and then finish our fianchetto. So pawn C3, we play B5. Again, the first 8 moves, you guys are still seeing it. Unless they play something where their piece come in contact with our piece, we're always going to be doing the same thing. Bishop goes to B7. Now we get the double fianchetto. We're 6 moves in. And then once we play knight D7 followed by C5, now you guys could see that the first 8 moves, we're always going to try to get a setup like this. So he castled the king. We play c5. We're 8 moves in, and even going further than 8 moves, we could say the first 10 moves because my plan is to go knight f6 and castle. Then my development will be complete. So he plays d5. Let's keep developing. Knight goes to f6. Let's get the king out the center. All right, rook is on the file. This move, guys, please don't forget about this move. It's not just in the modern. If you ever have a knight on f6 and you're able to use that knight and attack the opponent's bishop, it's very, very annoying. Because if you're able to use your knight and capture a bishop, that's already a slight advantage for you. In fact, the best move in positions like these is to play moves like bishop to g5 and just chase away my knight on the next move. But since he did not do that, we're just going to take on e3, and then we're just going to castle our king. And by the way, guys, if you already watched the full theory video on the modern defense, I will be analyzing the very interesting games from this video for my members. So rook takes, let's just get our king out the center. So now he's getting his knight in the game. Let's play e6. Remember, the purpose of a pawn break is to open lines for your pieces. And since all my minor pieces are already developed, I'm now thinking about getting my major pieces in the game. And we can think about getting the major pieces in the game with the use of pawn breaks. All right, he pulls the bishop back so that way that's more defender on d5, but we are going to take because it's not very hard adding more attackers to f6. For example, now I'm able to hit him with knight b6. There's 2 attackers on the pawn. He only has 1 defender. I'm expecting something like bishop e4 or rook d3. And I think rook to d3 would be the best move if he's not trying to lose the pawn. Because if bishop f4, we're not able to do our removing the guard tactic by playing f5 and kick the bishop, especially since his rook and his knight is in a pawn fork pattern. The pawn could also get to f4, and that's exactly what he played. So once I hit him with f4, it's kind of like a removing the guard tactic trying to win this pawn, but we don't want the pawn because once he moves, I should have said tactic alert because this is definitely a tactic alert. Once he moves the bishop, we fork him, and that's GG's. But for 500, I think my opponent played fairly well. So he decides to sack the knight. We're still going to take, which means he lost the knight. I'm attacking the bishop, which is one of the main defenders of the pawn, and he's still about to lose the pawn. So he pulls the bishop back. Now we take, hit the rook. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have took with the knight because once he goes here, he's attacking my knight twice. If bishop here, I go here. But once he goes here, knight f4, he takes it the queen. I take it the queen. Pawn takes, I check, and that could lead to mate. So rook to d3, we're not afraid of, actually. So he did play rook to... Here's what we saw. He's attacking my knight twice. If I move my knight out the way, he has a battery already on d6, so he's attacking my queen. But if he attacks my queen, I take and attack his queen. If he takes my queen, I take his queen. And we're basically just trading everything. And I don't mind trading since I'm the one who is ahead in material. If he takes my queen, I take his queen. If he takes with the queen no longer guards the rook, so I take the rook. But if he takes with the pawn, it allows my queen to get to g5, and that could be leading to some checkmates. So he did take the queen, and we will take his queen. And I'm expecting him to trade one of the rooks. Or okay, he pulls the rook back. He doesn't want to trade too much. I would love to trade everything since I'm ahead in material. So let's swing this rook in the game. Anytime he checks, I'm just gonna block the check. Okay, he's trading. He's willingly trading. Let's just take back. My goal is to put my rook in heaven. He actually did that, removing the guard tactic. Now I'm only ahead by 1 point. Again, for 500, this guy's not playing too badly. All right, now we're hitting this pawn. I'm expecting him to protect it. But then I jump in with more attacks. Okay, he plays g3 first, hitting my knight. But the goal is to take. But since my knight is under attack, I'll check first, save the knight, force him to react, and then I take the free pawn. Now my knight is also targeting c3. Okay, bishop goes back, hits the knight, doesn't change anything. That's another pawn. Plus his a pawn is now hanging. So we're ahead by 3 points again with a very simplified position. Pawn c4 could hit the bishop. This is hanging. Or if I get the chance to just trade the queens, that will make it an easier endgame for me to play. So he puts his rook on the file. Let's just hit the bishop. If he checks, after taking up both the bishop and his rook is under attack. So the bishop moves out the way. Now I'm going to apply more pressure to his focal point on f2. A simple check I'm not afraid of because I'm going to be hitting the rook and the pawn. Plus, we are in the end game. That's what we do in the end game. We attack people's pawn. Check. Now we go king up. How is he going to protect this pawn? So he didn't try to protect the pawn. Let's take it with check, force the king to move. Then we take another pawn. We have 3 passed pawns now about to start rolling up the board. All right, bishop goes back. He's clearly trying to check and then take. I don't really care. Like, I'm more interested in just rolling my pawns. Actually, I do care. Let's hit the rook. Rook goes here. He's attacking this pawn. Now I'll put the knight in the way. My bishop also attacks the rook. I'm also moving the knight so that way it's easier for me to start rolling the pawns. And if he puts the rook here, then rook to f2, and then that's a guaranteed rook trade. All right. Oh, he missed that I was attacking his rook. Ah, good game, bro. And he resigns. But more modern defense against 600 level players. Stick around. Our opponent is now 600. Yes, I'm playing some more modern defense. And as I mentioned before, the first 8 moves, we should already know what it's like. Or, yeah, sometimes I say the first 10 moves if we include knight f6 and castle, but let's see how this one goes. So pawn d6, the plan is to get the knight on the d7 square, get some control over the center, play a6 with the idea of gaining the tempo on the bishop. So he's developing. Let's play b5. Basically, I'm preparing to fianchetto my bishop. I gained a tempo on his bishop, and now we develop our bishop, and we're attacking this pawn. Plan from here is simple. Put the knight on d7 to finish development, play pawn c5 to attack the center, and eventually we play knight f6 and castle. So he plays c3, still going to play c5. Since it's a part of our plan, he's basically trying to defend d4. Also, he doesn't want his bishop to get trapped. Notice how this is the first 8 moves, and this is like a position that you're always going to get. So if you just look on this position, this is the position that you're aiming for, playing the modern. All right, queen moves. Let's finish our development and get the king castles. I'm assuming he's trying to keep his options open on where he wants to get castle. All right, so the bishop moves. There's a very high chance that he wants to play e5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this move knight h5, hit the knight. If he pulls back, I'm going to take. I also want to just run my king out the center of the board. So bishop goes back, eliminate that bishop, and then we simply castle the king. I also don't mind that I'm castling on the open file of the rook because I have the dark squared bishop. He has no dark squared bishop. Once we're in a scenario like this, then no attack on my king should be working. Then he plays knight g5, hitting the focal point on h7 twice, hitting the focal point on f7 twice, but I'm already attacking, guarding f7 twice. So let's play h6. a good way to defend f7 just by removing the guard. Well, not removing the guard, but just chasing away the knight. If he takes on f7, then he's basically giving up two minor pieces for the rook, and I'll be fine if he does that. Apart from that, if he has to move the knight, then he's the one wasting time, which is what he did. Now we use the time to get our major pieces in the game. So let's go rook to c8. In case I want to take, I want my rook to get an open file. Then he plays d5 because he doesn't want my rook to get the open file. But what I'll do is now I'll play c4 to attack the bishop, and then what do we do when it comes to our major pieces? We gives them open files. The queen needs files and diagonals. The rooks needs files and ranks. So we play moves like e6, and this is called a pawn break. Pawn breaks is very important for you guys to understand. It's also essential if you guys want to understand how to properly come up with a plan. Because if you're able to just look on the pawns, see what's happening with the pawns, then you're going to be able to tell exactly what's happening in the entire position. So now he chose to get his king out the center. I will take, since it opens the file for my rook, and it also gives me a free pawn because I was attacking twice. He was only guarding it once. The rook is on the file, but the knight is in the way. So he took. Now we take, and just like that, we're ahead by a pawn. Knight e4 though hits the bishop, and if I move the bishop, I lose this pawn. So I think it's best if I just guard the bishop, because the moment I move the bishop, he's gonna have two attackers on this pawn. Eventually, I want to go rook to e8 and just get this rook on the file. Would be pinning the knight to the queen as well. Okay, he's trying to double up his rooks on the h file, but that's not gonna work, bro. My bishop is always guarding it. Now I put my rook on the file. That's already one piece applying pressure to his knight, but he has this bishop guarding it, so I'm not necessarily winning the knight just yet. But the knight is pinned, and what do we do when a piece is pinned? We PP on the PP. So now that he got the other rook over there, that's when we strike with f5. Again, we don't care if he sacked the rook. If he sacked the rook, especially, oh, okay. He wants to take stakes and then queen takes. All right, how am I gonna do this? I'm just not gonna take the rook if he sack it, to be honest. Let's just take hit the knight. If he sacked the rook, maybe I should play e3, hit the queen, and then after the pawn takes, then I take. I mean, this will also be hanging. It's weird. He sacked the rook. Yo, the guy's sacking everything. Already ahead by a piece. This is also another piece, but this is gonna be hanging. And let's just take. It's free material, and we take all free material. The thing is, what piece of his is not participating in the attack? I still have to be extremely careful here. Okay, he took back with the pawn. I wasn't expecting him to do that. I could take here. How does this work? If I takes, there's queen takes. I don't want to take. I think it's best if I play bishop back. Bishop takes, rook takes is still strong. Takes, queen takes. Let's say queen e7. Nah, he checks here. That's kind of crazy. Now let's just grab this. Let's keep taking material. Like if I get, I'm thinking about anything I could do to sacrifice back material. So rook goes here. If I takes, queen takes, there's always bishop to h5. But then he takes here, and I don't want him to even think about the possibility of getting a draw. Now I go queen e7 since his rook no longer guards the back rank, and the goal is to trade the queens off the board. If I'm able to trade the queens off the board, then definitely this is just completely winning. So he did take the free pawn, but now we check. We're trading the queens, which means we should be winning a very simple game. Once he goes king here, I double up the rooks, protecting my rook. He has no good checks on my king, and I'm also threatening mate on e2. Very, very, very aggressive. 600 rated player though. Okay, he sacked the rook, which I'll just take. Again, he's very aggressive. Once he checks, I go back. No, there's no more checks. I'm still threatening a checkmate, which is why he resigns. But more modern defense against 700 rated players. Stick around. Our opponent is now 700. Let's play some modern defense. So d4, we go bishop to g7, fianchet to the bishop. f4, he's going for some aggressive stuff. But let's just play our regular modern defense type of moves. Pawn goes to a6. Will he play bishop c4 and give me the tempo? Nah, he puts the bishop on d3. Let's go b5 here. And the plan is to go bishop b7, knight d7, pawn c5. That's what we're going for. All right, so a3, we fianchet to the bishop. And after knight c3, we play knight d7 with the idea of playing c5. So king is castled, we play c5, first 8 moves, complete modern stuff. And his pawn is under attack on d4, which is why he develops the bishop to protect it. But now I develop my knight. Now I'm threatening to go knight g4, hit the bishop, which is the main defender of the pawn. e5, I don't mind. h3, I mind, because after h3, then e5 will make sense. But I think either way, I'm just going to get my king to safety. Okay, I don't mind e5 because knight g4 hits the unprotected bishop. Uh, I think he needs to move it, but if he guards it, he's giving me the bishop pair, which is good for us, basically. So he guards the bishop. We're definitely taking that bishop. And now things could get slightly tricky. Like after queen takes takes, like queen takes, that looks like a pawn to me. Because the knight becomes one of the main defenders of e5. So once I take, if he plays knight takes, I have 1, 2, 3 attackers, and he only has 2 defenders. Slightly risky since I'm not castled, but I can always castle on the next turn, right? Okay, he took with the queen. Guy doesn't want to lose anything. But it's the exact same thing. Knight take on e5. Also, worst case scenario, I just eliminate the knight. But if he plays pawn takes, I'm still going to take since the queen is unprotected. And if he trades the queens, then I'm just chilling. Because if I takes, rook takes, he's just going to trade the queens anyways. So once I take here first, even though he has 2 attackers on the pawn, the queen is going to be unprotected. He's not going to sack his queen. Knight takes, loses the queen, he must trade. After he trades and I take back, then he takes, I take, we're just ahead by a pawn. Very nice way to win a pawn. So he did trade the queens. Let's swing the rook in the game. I'm expecting him to trade because I'm also applying pressure to the bishop. But he didn't. He played rook to d1. All right, I could take and give him this ugly double pawns, or I could take and say I have the bishop pair. I'm going to choose, it's not double pawns, but it definitely weakens the pawn. And because I'm trying to simplify the game, I'm also going to be giving up this bishop for the knight. No, he's going to have ugly double pawns. Why would you take with the, just take with the pawn? That's a rook. Come on, Mr. Nigeria. No, I'm definitely going to give up my bishop for the knight. And then after this, okay, we don't really want to castle since we're in the end game. So let's go e5 and then just get the king in the game. Maybe I should have played e6 since my pawn could now become a target. Yeah, he's just, guys, I didn't pay this guy any money to be playing like this. He's losing the material, then he's intentionally trading the pieces off the board, and now it's just so easy for black to play. So the king joins the game. Now the rook goes to the second. This is a dead pawn, by the way, because the rook is spinned. I could also sack the bishop because mathematically I have more pawns than him. But I want to take one more pawn, then I sack, or just take even more pawns. He resigns. More modern defense against 800 level players. So stick around. Our opponent is now 800, and I'm blessing you guys with some more modern defense. Knight f3, we first fianchetto or bishop. The modern defense is a double fianchetto type of position. We play d6, just to have some sort of control in the center. The knight usually goes to d7, but I like to play a6 followed by b5. Then we finish with our double fianchetto. So sacrifices on f7, bro. All right, it's very important that you guys look out for this sacrifice, but it does not work, to be honest. Like, if I'm not careful, or if you're not careful, your king is not able to get castled. There's queen f3. The queen could be applying pressure to the rook. But once you're able to see all of this, you should be chilling. So, for example, after queen f3, I may just go knight f6. And since he didn't even play queen f3, I'll just get rid of this knight out of my half of the board. No, he sacrificed a piece for absolutely no reason. I mean, maybe he's saying my king is not able to get castled. That could be a reason. But since I'm ahead in material, my goal from here is just to trade everything off the board. Now I'll just continue with my regular modern defense setup, knight d7, pawn c5. Then we have him moving the same pieces more than once in the opening. I'll just play e6 and just put the question to the knight. Okay, knight f4 is not bad. If that was his idea, then it's not bad. Because the knight on f4 will attack both g6 and e6. Okay, maybe that's a good time for me to play king f7. At least my king is going to be doing something useful. All right, so the knight just goes back to c3. And okay, now the tactic works. This is a tactic alert from our low rated players. Very, very simple tactic. My bishop is attacking the pawn. The knight is the only defender of the pawn. We play b4, attack the knight. This is called a removing the guard tactic. The reason why it works is because the knight is not able to go to d5 to block the bishop and counterattack this pawn. So once he moves his knight back, I'll just take the pawn, and that's even more material for us. So the knight moves out the way. The bishop takes on e4, more material, and it's also easier for me to develop this knight because I'm not worried about any e5 to chase away the knight. Okay, knight moves, hit the bishop. Let's not give up the bishop for the knight. Let's just pull it back. His position seems very active and everything, and my king is not able to get castled. But he's down by a piece, and there's just no attack. Like, it's not possible for him to bring one of his pieces on my half of the board. So now he's targeting this pawn. I'll just defend it with my queen, knight d7, knight f6. I just need to ensure that I use my rooks wisely because I can't simply castle to get them in the game. c3. Okay, he's trying to trade. Let's just take, because maybe he's trying to get the queen here, but I don't want to defend the pawn and then he checks and hit my knight. Now I'll use the time to finish my development. Queen b3 hits the unprotected bishop and this pawn, but it doesn't work. So he plays c4. Now I'll develop my knight, just finishing my development. Bishop is still unprotected. Still, I'm not able to get castle. h4. An attack is coming my way, which I'm not afraid of. Let's just put this rook on the f file, maybe this rook on the b file. I'm also thinking about artificially castling my kings. Just king up, king here, and nobody who sees this game will have no idea that I didn't just castle my king. All right, now he's applying some pressure to my bishop, which is unprotected. And there's a series of trades that I'm planning on doing. Let's first play rook to b8 and guard. I'm trying to go knight g4, take, then take here and create some threats on h2. Okay, bishop develops. Now we start the plan. Knight goes to g4. The plan is to eliminate the knight, which is the main defender of the pawn, and then the queen could grab the pawn. Will it lead to mate? I'm not sure, since queen h1, the knight covers the square, but it could definitely win us some more material, or it could help us to simplify the game because we are ahead by a lot of material, or just a piece, but it's a lot of material. Okay, he plays rook to b3. It's adding more pieces to defend the knight. It doesn't change the cost of rice. It's a removing the guard tactic. Eliminate the knight, which is the main defender of the pawn, and then take the pawn on the next move. Unless he takes on f3 to attack my knight, and that will just expose his king. It's not a terrible move, though. If he trades here first, then we have to take back this way. I'm expecting rook takes, and then I take. Wow, he actually did take with the pawn. All right, so if I takes, now we can't check here. I could trade here first if I want, but let's just pull the knight back. Wasn't expecting him to take with the pawn. Okay, now there's a battery on my queen and my king. He's trying to take here. Ah, this is dangerous. Push takes, knight takes, rook takes. I can't take due to this. Damn, I should have traded. I should have traded. All right. How am I going to navigate this? First of all, I do not want to lose material. So I'm going to first move the king out of the way. And then if he takes the pawn, I move the queen out of the way. I think that's not a bad defensive resource. But we definitely should have traded the rooks. Now we move. There's no huge threats that I'm seeing. Knight h5, trying to get some pieces off the board. Maybe rook e8. If you're ahead in material, just trade. It makes it very simple for you. All right, he pushed the pawn, trying to be annoying. Now I'm not able to touch this rook. Knight e5 hits this pawn, so let's go for that. Yeah, let's hit. I'm not able to take here since the queen guards it, but I am attacking this pawn. I'm also thinking about knight h5 just to trade some more pieces off the board. It also applies a lot more pressure on f4. Sacrifices again. That shouldn't work though. I'm just gonna accept the sack. He's being very kind now. Now that he takes, my knight is under attack, my king is in check, but once I block with this knight, this is already guarded by the bishop. So it's not like I'm not able to take due to the pin. And f3 is now under attack 3 times. He's only guarding it once. So he take, thinking I'm not able to take, but I'm able to take this way. And your rook is under attack. Okay, queen moves. plundered the rook. We're taking all free material. He doesn't have a lot of time on the clock though, so I'm assuming that's the reason why he's making blunders now. But let's just keep trading. And then once we take here, that's how we should be looking to checkmate. He checks, we move the king out the way. Now there's no more checks on our king. And with nothing else to do, my opponent lost on time. More modern defense against 900 rated players. Stick around. Your opponent is now 900. More modern defense coming your way. All right, knight c3, bishop g7. Like, the thing about the modern defense is the first 8 moves should not be hard for us because we kind of already know where the pieces belong. Like, you should know where every one of your minor pieces go. For example, this knight usually goes to f6, but it's just not developed just yet. So he develops his bishop. Let's go a6. This knight usually goes to d7, by the way, but we want to fianchetto our bishop first and gain some space on the queen side. See, and anytime they put their bishop on c4, it's just a plus for us because the plan was to play b5. He's giving us b5 with tempo, and then as soon as he moves the bishop out the way, then I'll just develop my bishop, fianchetto, target the pawn on e4, play knight d7 and c5. So bishop move, we go bishop e7, hit the pawn. There are ideas where we kick the knight and then win the pawn, but we have to keep in mind that once we kick the knight and the knight goes here, we can't take the pawn. And if we kick the knight again, the knight could take on b4. So we don't want to rely on this tactic too much. But a lot of times they play a3, trying to not lose to the tactic, but it actually doesn't really work. Why did he even play g3? Like, don't you have a king to castle and a piece to develop, bro? This guy. Let's continue with the plan. Knight goes to d7, pawn goes to c5. I may play knight f6 before c5 since it gives me some attack on e4. Or maybe I'm just going to play c5 because c5 also threatens to trap his bishop. And the opponent decided to do a drawback mistake. Like, I'm happy that you guys could see just while I'm trying to play the modern, and it's just the modern, it's a lot of different openings. They just make mistakes. It's crazy, bro. Like, the type of moves that these guys are playing. It's simple in the opening. You develop castle, connect the rooks. Don't be playing weird moves. Guess he's trying to guard the bishop, but the queen was guarding the pawn. It's no longer guard the pawn, so we take the free pawn. All right, he moves the queen yet again. But I'm assuming he's trying to apply some pressure to f7. So let's just develop the knight. My bishop will not be able to go back to g7 since the knight is in the way, but I'm setting up some tactics here. Notice how I have 2 attackers on e4 and he has 2 defenders on e4. His knight is one of the main defenders of the pawn. So if I'm able to eliminate the knight, doesn't work if he plays knight e2. Because if I take the knight is just going to take back. So instead of giving up the bishop for the knight, let's pull it back to b6. And I still want to just castle. It's just crazy how the bishop is not on g7. Okay, bishop goes to g5. Very interesting. I don't think he should be allowing knight e5. The bishop was covering that square. Now we're able to go knight e5, hit the queen. Oh, okay, there is queen to f4. But I'm also protecting the f7 pawn. So in case I have to move this knight, let's say knight h5 hit the queen, then I don't have to worry about losing because of queen takes f7. I think he only has one plan here, like checkmate on f7. So he may play this move to keep the attack, but this is a tactic alert, guys. Tactic alert. Black to play. How do we do this? First of all, he already played this weak pawn to g3 move, which weakens the f3 square. So now once I play this move knight h5, I hit the queen, the knight guards f7, so anything take on f7, I'm going to take. I want you guys to notice how... Okay, it's not a tactic. What am I saying? He could actually pull the queen all the way back to c1. Like, queen can't go to no other square except c1 though. That's why I thought it was a tactic. And knight f3 comes with a check and it also forks on g3. But all he needs to do is play queen c1 and he's fine. Damn, man. He sacrificed on f7. I'm assuming he missed queen c1. He's probably thinking, yo, shoot, bro. I have to sacrifice, otherwise I'm losing the queen. But he just needed to play queen c1. Maybe now he's going to play queen d2. And I'll just castle or play knight e5, or maybe just take on g5. So now he pulls the queen back to d2. Let's get the king out the center of the board first and foremost. Very important. On to g5 hits the knight. And This is when we take this bishop. Because if he chooses to take my knight, I fork. If the queen decides to take, now I have two pieces attacking f2, and I'm able to take on f2 first with check. And that's an in-between move. And then only after he defend against the check by moving the king, then I just pull my knight back. All right, king moves out the way. Let's save the knight. When he's jumping in with his knight, he is applying some pressure to e7, but guess what? I'm ahead by 4 points. It's a no-brainer. Obviously, I'm going to trade. If he takes with the queen, pawn e6 also hits the queen. Okay, he checks. Let's hit the queen. Queen has to go somewhere. Maybe he's going to allow me to get my queen on g5 with check. Okay, he moves the queen away. Now I check him here, hit this pawn. This rook isn't really doing much, so I'm looking for some ways to get it in the game. I'm expecting him to pull the king back. I don't want to be too materialistic here. Like, I have all the material in the world. Now I'm just trying to go for mate. Interesting. Let's go c5. I know I'm leaving the d pawn unprotected, but if the queen takes, it only helps my rook to join the game. I can definitely get something with his king on the c3 square. Well, okay, you see, now he's trying to run. I don't want him to run, so I'm going to check him here. And I'm basically trying to keep his king in the center of the board. So now he has to put the king here. Then I play d5 because my goal is to open the center. But our opponent decides to resign. More modern defense against 1,000 level players. Stick around. Our opponent is now 1,000. We're in the 4 digits club. We're playing some more modern defense. The first 8 moves you could play by just knowing what the moves are in the modern defense. We play pawn d6, a6, b5. We're playing against someone who looks like they really like the Italian game. Pawn goes to a6, followed by b5. Now we hit the bishop. And then once the bishop moves out the way, we simply play bishop to b7. Usually a bishop is not on c4. If a bishop is on c4, it's making our life way easier because we play b5 with a tempo. Huh. Okay, bishop to d7 is definitely an annoying move. But I'm just going to play c6 since eventually I'm going to play c5 anyways. And I'm just going to continue with the plan like nothing happened. Come on, bro. That's just a bishop. Just move your bishop out the way or something. Did he thought the bishop was pinned or something? Okay, my king is in check. Now I move. What does he have? Queen f3 threatens check. Big deal. Knight f6, e5 takes. Bishop g4, queen f4. So if he plays queen f3, I may just play knight h6. Yes, I'll put my knight on the edge of the board, but there's rook f8 to hit the queen, and I can also run my queen to c7. This is going to be a bit different from the modern setup where all 8 moves are the same because the opponent decided to do something different. So let's not get checkmated here. He's also not defending this pawn on d4 anymore. By the way, guys, if you haven't liked the video, we're now at the 1,000 level game. Thanks for watching this far. Please remember to just hit that like button. We're trying to get 1,000 likes on this video. And if you already like the video, I thank you so much for liking and I really appreciate it. It does a lot for the actual video. All right, now he plays d5, trying not to lose the pawn. If I get my rook in the game now, I will lose my h-pawn since the knight is being annoying. Uh, yeah, just take. I mean, I'm ahead by a piece. I'm not worried, to be honest. I also want to give my bishop access to the f5 square to hit this pawn. Maybe develop my knight to d7 followed by e5. I'm just trying to have all pieces developed. Like, I'm really not worried here. A knight going to e6, I'm just going to take it. He did put the knight on e6. Whoa. What the fudge? You can't take. Because after takes, my rook is under attack. F7 is hanging. And if I takes, oh my God, but this is a fork. What? Okay, I think I have to take, but I'm just going to lose some material. That's the thing. I'm actually going to lose back the material. That's crazy. The queen is attacking my rook. I can't lose my rook. And this is going to be a checkmate once the bishop takes. And if I go here, he's going to take the rook. Shoot. Okay, let's go d5. And then after bishop takes, we go rook f8. Because if I take back, I'm mated. Yo, that was crazy, bro. What a mess. Yeah, I can't take due to mate. I have to attack the queen first. And he's now going to simply put his queen somewhere where he's guarding the bishop. Another thing I'm noticing, though, is his pawn on b2 is hanging. So that could make the game a bit more interesting. But if I take the pawn on b2, I will also lose my rook on f8. This guy. All right, queen moves out the way, keeping the bishop guarded. He's now ahead by a point. He's threatening to take. Let's just defend. Now, let's just take. Yeah, let's just take, queen take, and maybe just queen b6 and try to attack this. Worst case scenario, I'll protect h7, but do I like my position? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If he tries to defend the pawn, if he tries to defend the pawn with the rook, that would be very, very funny because then he's just going to be getting checkmated. I think he just needs to develop though. Like if he just develops and I take and then he swing the rook in the game, like it's just going to be hard, bro. All right, so he did take the pawn. We're going to take this pawn. I'm assuming he's going to develop, and then I'm going to try to finish my development. He's still ahead by a pawn. My king is not safe. There's nothing about my position that is good here. All right, so he's developing. Not sure why he didn't try to develop and, attack this pawn or something. I'm also gonna put my knight here though, because I'm trying to hit the queen in some cases. Maybe queen to f6, rook h8. Why didn't I try to set up this trap? I think if he puts this rook here, he's in trouble because queen f6 threatens f2 and rook h8. All right, now I'm a bit hopeful because there's a little trap in the position that he could fall for. Oh my god. Queen f6 it is. I'm threatening f2 by the way. I'm threatening b2, but he's more than likely going to defend f2. And once he defends f2, oh my god, it doesn't work, guys. It doesn't work. Because if I play rook h8, he's sacking this rook. And if I take on e7, then my rook is hanging. It doesn't work. All right. He's actually worried about getting his queen trapped. That is actually crazy. It did not work, bro. It didn't work. So let's see. Let's just take on f2 then. Or, because this is going to be hanging. Actually, it's a pawn. I want back my pawn. King now has to move, and I'll just go back to defend my pawn. He's keeping his knight guarded. Let's just go back. Position is still risky, guys, but my knight is guarding my rook, so that's good. If he plays here and I move my queen, I'll just take with the knight. All right, rook moves. Still a very hard position, guys. It's still very, very hard. Let's go. Let's keep the. It's very important that I have the queen guarding my g pawn. If he takes, knight takes, and then I may just run with my king. Okay, so he did take. Let's just take back. And then he plays queen h8. So his next plan is obvious. Play rook f1 and apply pressure to my pin knight. Do we want all of this drama? Or should we just get the queens off the board as quickly as possible? Now, if he takes, we take back, and we're just going to play the end game. Like, the moment you find yourself under attack, you start trading pieces. And the first piece that you should look to trade should be the queen. Guy doesn't even want to trade the queens, bro. He's attacking this instead because once he plays rook f1, it's done. But let's go back to f7 with the same idea, guarding the pawn, hitting the queen. And if he plays queen h8, I'll go queen to h7. Like, there's no way. Actually, queen h8, queen h7, he's just going to run. So maybe I should just start thinking about getting the rest of my pieces in the game. So he did decide to trade the queens. Now we're in the end game. We know what the end game plan is. Attack weak pawns, push past pawns, activate the king. This pawn is a pass pawn. So if I'm able to get the rook behind the pass pawn and roll it up the board, that would be good. I think he wants to put the knight here. He's also preventing me from pushing the pawn. So let's go knight d7, protecting the square. Now I'd love to push the pawn up the board. Okay, b3 doesn't do much. Pass pawns must be pushed, even though it's right here. It's not too far up just yet, but it is the plan in the end game. Now he moves the knight. We're looking for any checks on e6. If he checks, I'm just going to move. There's not much that he has. I cannot play here due to this fork. Let's just play rook here, though, and attack his pawn. We are in the end game. That's what we do. That did absolutely... Oh, I actually missed this. Check. But after king up, he takes my knight, I take his knight, and that's why he plays h4. No check king up, that's going to be mate. But let's just go knight f6. I think if I play knight f6, his rook is not able to come in. If he goes here, I'm just going to run my king towards the center. And his pawn on c2 will still be under attack. All right, so he decides to guard the pawn. Still have to look out for this check, but in the meantime, we keep rolling our pass pawns. All right, so yeah, now he's trying to play defensive moves. That's the beauty of pushing past pawns. It scares people. Now I could have a very annoying knight on the g4 square. Like every time he plays a move, I have to ensure that this check doesn't work. But once the king and the rook is on opposite colors, there's literally impossible. Like there's no forks. If you want to do not allow any forks, put your two pieces on opposite color because the knight only attacks one color at the same time. Okay, he continues to attack weak pawns. Push the pass pawn. If he takes, I push the pass pawn. He's not able to go back and he's not able to get behind. Pass pawns were made to be pushed. And if I take, I'm also threatening mate. So it's just a nice position all of a sudden. Like the middle game wasn't the best, but the end game. So he did take the pawn. And now once I push, he's able to check here, but oh, but he's gonna check and get behind. It's fine. If he checks, king up, checks, king up, check wins the pawn. So I'm going to play king back instead. And once he gets behind, I take, and now I'm threatening to check him here and then queen the pawn. All right, knight. Come on, bro. He's not threatening anything. I mean, bro, that's just a checkmate. More modern defense against 1100 players. Stick around. The opponent is now 1100, and yes, he started off with d4. And I just want to tell you guys that the modern defense can also be played against d4. We're still going to be playing all of these moves. Pawn d6. Okay, bishop f4. It's a modern defense versus a London system. So pawn e3, we play pawn a6. Now we play b5 with the idea of putting the bishop on b7. So yes, he's playing all his moves in the London. I'm playing all my moves in the modern. Knight goes to d7, pawn goes to c5, and then our first 8 moves are out of the way. So this is very, very good. And from here, it's just a matter of developing the knight and castling the king. Okay, he plays knight b3. There is some pressure on the pawn on c5. I mean, I'll just play c4 and just force him to pull the knight back. Then I'll develop and castle. Like I think he just wasted time, but it's not completely terrible because he is able to play b3. But once I take his pawn on c3 could also be a weakness. So he plays h3. Very important London move, by the way, because if I attack the bishop, he needs to be able to pull the bishop back to h2. But let's just get our king out the center of the board. And when he plays rook b1, I'm really expecting him to play pawn b3 next. Let's go rook to c8 in case I take and then c3 becomes weak. But if he plays b3, I may play knight. I think I'm gonna play knight d5 because I'm threatening a fork and I'm threatening the bishop. And I could also take and then take on c3. But he plays e4. Come on, bro. Like, guys, we have to learn to count. Once you hit 1,000, counting should not be an issue for you. I have 2 pieces attacking e4. He only has 1 piece guarding it. So once I take on e4, that's just a pawn, son. And if he takes, I take, and his rook is also under attack. So now we take. Now he has to save the rook. And I may also just put the other knight on f6 or just put it on b6. Okay, he moves the rook. Let's go knight b6. I want to centralize the knight on d5 eventually. We're ahead by a pawn, so now we're just cruising. There's also some ideas of playing knight to a5, which hits this unprotected pawn. All right, he's attacking my bishop. Bishop may have to move. Let's just pull it back though. That's fine. If he plays bishop f3, I may just trade because why not? Okay, he got his rook on the file instead. Let's get this knight out of our half of the board. It's just neutralization. We do not allow pieces on our half. Then I'll put my knight back in the center. And now he'll get the chance to pull his bishop all the way back to h2. All right, all my minor pieces are chilling. We need to focus on our major pieces. Let's move the queen, connect the rooks. It's also an attacking move on this pawn. And then I may play rook to d8, put my rook on the same line as the queen, and then try to play e5. Just try to open this file. Like all my pieces are now just very, very active. So I'm just looking out for him to make some form of mistakes. Like once I do not blunder here, which is very, very hard to do in a position like this, I should be doing fine. All right, he pulls the bishop back. That is some pressure on e5. If I push takes, knight takes, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Just to be safe, I'll go rook to c7. Nah, let's do queen to c7 because the queen is not doing anything over here anymore. Moves the knight out the way. There's no good forward moves for the knight, so I am not afraid. Now I'm able to play e5 since he removes one of the main defender of the e5 square. Yes, I'm kind of blocking out my bishop, but if he allows me to take, then my bishop is very strong. And if he takes and I takes back, my rook is on the same line as his queen. So I'm just trying to ensure that I'm making progress every move. All right, so queen moves off the same line as my rook. This I'm not afraid of. Definitely going to take on d4 because once he takes back, the d pawn becomes a target. It's basically an isolated pawn that I could start attacking. Okay, now I'm going to start attacking the pawn. Let's go. Let's say queen to b6. Now we have two pieces attacking the pawn. He only has one defender, so I'm expecting him to apply some more defense. I may play c3 to get this rook active. I think my king side is fine. I don't need to worry about it. If I start pushing the pawns, then stuff could get bad. Let's go c3 here. He has to take, I'm assuming. Then I'll take it the rook. Or maybe I'll take with the rook and attack this pawn. Yeah, this is definitely more aggressive because knight takes hit the rook, but he's just gonna move. But if I play rook takes, I'm hitting this pawn, and he is forced to defend that pawn. And if there's no way to defend the pawn, then I will just be playing with another pawn because I'm already ahead by a pawn. So he plays bishop to d3. I'm expecting sacrifices. I'm expecting takes, queen takes, and checking me here. But if I start by playing bishop takes, I threaten f2, knight takes, I check, king move, I takes, and queen takes, I lose the game. What if I play queen takes, get the queens off the board? Takes, he sacked the bishop, I take the bishop, the rook takes my bishop, but at least I'm trading. And that's the important thing. Or I could maybe try h5. Queen goes back. Yeah, let's try h5. Because, oh, but then he's able to move the queen forward. Guys, it's very risky pushing pawns on the side that your king is on, especially when you're defending. If he moves the queen forward, maybe bishop f6 and get rid of the knight. But then I do not have the fianchetted bishop guarding my king. Like, this pawn is hanging, but I just want to ensure that my king is going to be safe. Okay, queen e4. Maybe he still wants to sack here. If I takes, knight takes, it's the same idea. It's the exact same idea. Let's just get the queens off the board. Takes, bishop takes. I may be able to play an in-between move taking on f2, but I'll probably take on g6 since the knight is attacking g6, and eventually I may need to play king g7. Like, I'm assuming I'm going to be winning the pawn on a3, and I'm going to be in an endgame playing with two extra pawns. Oh, by the way, guys, the games from 1300 to 2000, I honestly think the guy who played at 1000 and the guy who played at 1100 is really doing well. Because the guys at 1200 and onwards, like, those games were just, to me, they were a bit easy. But let's not have any spoilers. My bishop is unprotected on the same line as his rook. Was expecting that sacrifice. If I take first, king takes, the knight is going to take. No, let's just take, bro. Let's just. It's still a bit weird. It's still very weird. Let's go king up and guard this. There's no checks here since the knight is guarding it. And if he sacked the rook, I takes and he's not winning anything here. So still we're only ahead by 1 point. But this pawn is still hanging. All right, he pulls the knight back. Maybe he wants to do this. It's not a bad plan, by the way. We have to be a bit careful. How does this work now? Because if I move this away, this is hanging. We need to be very, very careful, actually. You know what? Instead of taking the pawn, I'm just going to get the rooks off the board. I think one pawn is enough and a simplified position. All right, that bishop move was fine. Was a fine move. I need to do something with this rook, but the moment I move the rook, I'm losing this. Takes, knight takes. There's still a fork on e6. Okay, I'm going to go rook d7, so that way, if a knight comes to e6, there will not be any forks. I'm also protecting my 7th rank. Oh my, I thought he blundered. He didn't blunder. Because if I take the rook, he checks. King up, then he takes. But I'm honestly trying to simplify the game anyway, so let him be fancy. So now I play king up, expecting him to take, and I'm trying to start rolling my pass pawn up the board. There's a check here that I don't want to allow though. So let's pull the knight back to defend against this check. If the bishop checks me here, there's pawn push. And now I'm thinking about how I'm going to start rolling the pawns up the board. There's also a6 followed by b4, and I could be playing with 2 pass pawns. It's very important that you guys are patient in the endgame. Okay, so the knight goes back. Now he wants to check and prevent this, but yes, I'll give up the bishop for the knight because not only am I doubling up his pawns, I'm trading. ahead in material. Now I'll get my knight in the game. Any check he plays, I'll block. And I want to just keep rolling my pass pawn up the board. Maybe I should create a pass pawn here. Still not very, very easy. He's attacking my pawn twice, but pass pawns were made to be pushed. Check. Spoke about this. Gain the tempo on the bishop. Keep rolling the pass pawn up the board. All right, h4 doesn't do a lot. Let's just like once his move isn't too threatening or does too much, we're just gonna keep pushing. All right, let's just take with the king. That's another pass pawn, by the way. I'm expecting rook d7. All right, if I push the pass pawn now, bishop here could win it. So let's say we go knight f4 and just guard it. If he takes, I'm chill, because two pass pawns will win the game. And bishop c3 loses the bishop. Okay, instead he moves the king. Okay, now I'm trying to get my king a bit over, hitting the bishop as well. The bishop does not belong all the way down here. Now I'm able to push the pawn. And how is he going to get his bishop on this diagonal quick enough? Because my goal is to get my knight here. So once I play knight e2, bro, I'm going to play knight c3. Oh, it was that quick? What the heck? It was that quick? Never mind. What? I think I still have to play knight c3 and he's going to win the pawn. Ah, now it's just weird, man. It's very weird now. Let's see if we can go for this far. And if the bishop, well, there would have been better, trying to dominate the knight. I'm assuming he don't want me to get my king active. Okay, let me try to get my pass pawn rolling up the board. One good thing is he has no time on the clock. If king here, I'm going to guard the pawn. This is going to be a very, very close game. Okay, pawn push. I'll keep rolling. It's going to be a scenario where he's probably going to sack his bishop. I think he needs to try to win this pawn. I'm trying to push this pawn. So once he goes there, we hit the bishop. Bishop has to move. We push the pawn. He's not going to be able to win my pawn. And now it's official that we're winning the game. Like, I think it's between the 1100 rated guy and the 1000 rated guy. Like, let me know in the comments who you guys think play the best game. All right, but let's just not give him our pawn. Let's guard it. If king up, knight could come in with check. And once he moves the king, I'm just going to slowly march around with my king. His king is not able to go anywhere here. So now it's just a matter of patience until my king just capture all his pawns. He also has a few seconds on the clock. So that also makes the position very winning. But I'm just capturing all his pawns here. Like if I take here, that's not a stalemate. And then I take this pawn, and then I slowly start rolling the pass pawn up the board with the help of my king. But Mr. 1100, you played very well. He has no time. With that being said, imagine he played well. I'm going to give him a draw. Let's give him a draw. He played very well, bro. Honestly. More modern defense against 1200 level players. Stick around. Our opponent is now 1200, more modern defense coming your way. And yes, the first 8 moves can be played without using your brain. But again, it's nothing like the London system. You still have to use a little bit of your brain. All right, knight f3, we play d6, knight d7, a6, b5, bishop b7, pawn c5 will be played unless he does something else. And yes, guys, I explained the full modern defense in my theoretical video. If you want access to that video, the link will be in the description. Okay, pawn b3 was played. Let's continue with the plan. He's basically trying to challenge this diagonal. Pawn goes to b5. Then we go for the double fianchetto. Double fianchetto is something that we do when we play the modern defense. He guarded the bishop. And now I want to play b4, but after the knight moves, I have to trade. And if I play e6, he takes here. So let's just continue with our regular modern stuff. Pawn to c5 is coming next. And there goes the first 8 moves. So bishop to e2. Here we're going to play pawn c5. Then we'll continue with our development. I'm expecting him to just get his king out the center. And that's what I'm going to plan to do here. Knight f6, castle my king. And let's see, because knight f6 will also be attacking this pawn on e4. a3, I'll call that unnecessary. I mean, maybe he's trying to prevent b4. I could still play b4 if that was what I wanted, but let's just finish our development. Now I'm expecting d3 because I'm attacking the pawn twice, bro. Okay, actually, if I take the pawn, knight takes, and if I takes the knight, I lose the bishop. If I take the pawn, knight takes, and I take on b2 first, he's gonna play an in-between move. So let's just castle the king to ensure that my king is safe, and it will give him time to protect his pawn. But if you guys just look on this position, the first 10 moves of the modern, this is kind of like what you're gonna see. We get a very safe king with a fianchetted bishop in front of it on a long diagonal. Rook e1 is also interesting because if I takes, knight takes, and then take, if he takes on b5, I'm able to take on f3 first, though. So it is a free pawn. Guy didn't protect the pawn. So we have two attackers on the pawn. He only has one defender. We take the free pawn, and we're ahead by a pawn. So I'm expecting knight takes. I don't have to take on b2 first since my king guards the bishop. So I'm just going to take here. My bishop will be unprotected on the same line as his rook, though. But the thing is, if he moves this bishop out the way, I'll just move my bishop. And if he sacked the bishop, I take on f3 first and attack the queen. Knowing that he has to react to it, then we take the bishop. We're completely winning the game. So he moves the knight out the way, hits the bishop. Bishop is under attack. Let's just move. Maybe he wants to play bishop f3. Who knows? We're ahead by a pawn, so we should not have any issues trading the pieces from now on. All right, so he traded bishops. Let's just take back. Then he plays bishop to g4. Why? Is he trying to sack something here and then fork me here? I'm not sure. Let's just go knight e5 and hit that bishop. It would be funny if he plays bishop e6, really trying to fork. I'm just not going to take the bishop, though. I mean, I think that would be hope chess as well. I'll just play, let's say, h6. Kick the knight. Maybe, nah, not f6. Definitely h6. Because then the knight and the bishop will be under attack. So the bishop just decides to go back, going for a trade. I'll just take, since now I just have a better minor piece. And from here, I'm thinking about getting my major pieces in the game. Like, I noticed there's no files for me because I have all my pawns on the board. Let's get some more control in the center. Very good bishop here. Maybe queen f6 to apply more pressure, get the rooks in the game. My major pieces are now the main thing in this position. All right, queen f6 or pawn f5. Let's go with queen f6 because we're ahead by a pawn. If he allows me to trade everything off the board, yes, I'll give up the bishop for the knight, especially if he lets me double up his pawns like that. So he didn't. He moves the knight out the way. Knight is likely heading to the e4 square. I'll just wait on the knight to go to e4. Then I play f5. So let's just play h6. So that way, if he attacks my queen and I move to e6, he's not able to attack it again. So if knight e5, we play f5 after moving the queen. It's important to understand that once the opponent's knight is centralized, then we always want to just try our best to get rid of that knight. All right, queen comes in. Maybe h5 and attack the queen again. I'm not even sure anymore. Or maybe d5. I don't want to block my bishop out, though. That's the thing. Maybe the queen is trying to come in here. Let's just get the rook in the game. Just in case the queen tries to come in, I can go rook e7 and hit the queen, guard the bishop. If he still comes in with the knight, I move the queen, maybe even here, because f5 becomes a bigger threat. Okay, so rook moves. Guess he's trying to double up his rooks. I think I'm gonna have to go for the idea of playing f5. I don't think my queen is doing well right here. I'm gonna play f5, then maybe put the queen back on f6. Also, not comfortable putting my queen in front of his rook, but sometimes once you're aware of it, that's all you need. All right, so now we hit the queen, force the queen to move. Very suspicious. What if I hit the queen again? Oh, nah, he's gonna take. So let's get the queen off the same line as the rook. Because if I hit the queen again, his queen is very close to being trapped. Especially if he has to play queen h2. Like nobody's gonna want their queen on h2. But I think if he plays f4, he's doing fine. Okay, h4. Still want to hit the queen, and maybe I'm even gonna play f3. Like f3 takes, knight takes, depending on where he puts the queen. The thing is, f4 allows his knight access to the e4 square, so I'm not sure if it's the best decision that I just made. But let's just kick the queen again. Check still doesn't work due to rook e7. Guard. He thought he was winning my bishop, but he's not. Now the queen has to go all the way back to h3. So he pulls the queen back, and I really do not want the knight on the e4 square. So I'm gonna play d5. It blocks my bishop in, but it prevents his knight from moving forward. Knight f3. Eventually, I'm gonna try to play e4. So I may double up my rooks on the e file as well. So knight f3. Oh my god, bro, that's gonna be an annoying knight. It's fine. Let's just kick the knight. It is going to be an annoying knight, but I'm not seeing exactly what it's doing once it's on g5. And this rook not doing anything could also get access to this file. So everything, oh, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. This pawn needs more defense. All right, let's bring more defense to the pawn. Now it's 3 defenders, 3 attackers. And I shouldn't have allowed that knight to be that good, though. That's a good knight. All right, b4 doesn't do much. I mean, it is attacking my pawn. I want to play f3. I want to play e3. But I'll just be patient and play c4. I'm not going to take an opening and open any more files. Maybe I should get the queens off the board here, but I'm not seeing what his queen is doing. f3. If I take and we do all the trades, then the knight takes. I don't want to do all of that, bro. In fact, the queen is now extremely wobbly on h3. So hit him with bishop c8, he has to put his queen on an uncomfortable square. And instead of opening up the file, I'm just going to push the pawn. Now I also have a very strong pass pawn. So his queen is going to be out of place, and he's going to also have to get his rooks back in the game. If knight e4, I am heavily consider sacrificing. Right before he gave me a pawn. Nah, he didn't. He's trying to trick me. He wants me to take so that way his queen is able to take this guy. All right, my bishop still needs some improvement. I should not allow him to take this. Knight back is coming soon. Okay, let's put this rook on the file. Knight back, queen here, or just sack the rook. This is one of those cases where I may just sack the rook without seeing the compensation because my pieces are just so active. But he puts the knight on the edge of the board. All right, I think it's good now if I eliminate the knight, because if he takes with the queen, then this pawn is not really hanging since the queen is no longer attacking my f4 pawn. I think he's trying to get his queen back in the game, but as you guys could see, there's just no entry points for his queen. And then he gave me an entire rook. Come on, bro, you were playing so well. He's trying to guard the pawn and then just lose the rook in the process. Now this rook joins the game. I'm threatening mate. How is he going to prevent it? Okay, g3 doesn't help. I was threatening mate in 1, but now it's just mating 2. We check him here, force the king to move here. That's a checkmate on g1, but that's also a checkmate. More modern defense against 1300 level players. Stick around. Our opponent is now 1300. We are playing some more modern defense. All right, so bishop goes to g7. We already know that. And after the bishop goes to g7, we play d6. Why d6? The knight gets that square. Now, once they play knight f3, we like to play a6 followed by b5. The purpose of this is to get the bishop on b7. The modern defense is basically a double fianchetto. In some cases, we can also play b4. Once he castles the king, we go knight d7. And the idea is to play c5. All right, so queen moves to d7. Let's play our queen d2, we play our signature move, pawn c5. Like, the first 8 moves are always like this, to be honest. So, like, if you play the modern defense, like, this is always going to be the first 8 moves. And then we eventually play knight f6 and castle. So d5, we play knight f6. Let's see if he's also going to play bishop h6, which we're not too afraid of, because if bishop h6, we're still going to just get castled. But if you don't play bishop h6, we get the chance to play knight g4, and that could also give us the bishop pair. So he did play bishop h6, and I'm assuming we have to just castle right into it. We don't want to take on h6 after we're castled. Like, we could do it before we're castled, but not after we're castled. And after that, we want to play some moves like e6, open up some files for our rooks, and we should be chilling. All right, so he got his rook on the file. Pawn e5, I shouldn't be too afraid of. Pawn e6 takes. My rook gets the file. Like, a lot of times you could go rook e8 followed by e6. Other times you could just play e6. Like, they're both fine. Just remember that a pawn break helps in getting your rook an open file. So if the rook was on e8, the rook would have take, we get the e file. If he choose to take this way, then we get the f file. If he does not take and then we take, then we could even be winning material. Another thing to keep in mind is the D pawn could be a weakness, but it's not an easy weakness to target. All right, so he's trading. We definitely have to take back here. He moves the knight, and the moment the knight is on our half of the board, what are we going to do? we're just going to chase this knight away. Why? Because we do not allow pieces on our half of the board. So let's kick the knight first. That was a trick because he's threatening a royal fork. So the plan is to get rid of the knight, but let's at least defend against the royal fork first. All right, he got his rook in the game. Okay, I also put my queen on the same line as his rook, so I need to be careful. I want to play h6. He's going to pull the knight back. So I'm wondering if I play knight e5 first, then play h6, it forces him to put the knight on the edge of the board. Like worst case scenario, I want to be able to play rook to d8 and guard this. So he pulls the knight back. Now we chase away this knight because we don't allow pieces on our half of the board. And my dumbass just missed a free piece. Like he trapped his own bishop and I could have just take it. The good thing is though, I'm attacking his knight. So it is still a free piece. If he saves the knight, we trap the bishop. If he saves the bishop, we take the knight. So he puts the knight on the edge of the board, and my fellow viewers, we hit him with pawn c4. The bishop just has nowhere to go here, and we're just going to be playing with an extra piece. So what he did was he sacrificed the bishop. Now I'm going to take with the knight, very important. So that way I hit the queen and I'm keeping my d6 pawn guarded. Another thing that I'm noticing is I'm also attacking his pawn on e4 twice. So the moment he saves the queen, that will be more material. So queen was saved. Let's grab more material, which is also guarding d6. So if he tries to chase away my knight, this knight covers d6. It's weird though, because he's probably just going to chase away both of my knights and then take on e6. Hopefully I wasn't getting too greedy. How do I respond to pawn b3? Yeah, so he did play pawn b3. And now I have to move this knight. Let's pull it back to e5. And then once he plays pawn f3, then it's very weird. What if I sack the rook? I think if I sack the rook, I'll have enough pieces to mate him. Definitely. Because if I move the knight, he takes here, and that's kind of weird. I'm already ahead by 3 points. So if I sack the rook, the position is going to be equal, and I get this massive attack on his king. So sack the rook, check the king. King can't go here. Okay, guys, this is one of those sacrifices that I can't calculate. I'm going to have to calculate it afterwards. So we sack the rook and then take on f3. Now, one thing that you guys are going to be learning a lot. Oh, it's also a fork. I didn't even see that it was a fork. But one thing that you guys are going to be learning a lot is for a successful attack to work, you need at least 3 pieces. You need 1 to sacrifice and the other 2 to mate. So he takes, we take with check, king has to move. I was assuming he would have put his king on the same line as my bishop. He didn't. That's another check. I don't want to take the rook since the rook is trapped. Remember, the threat is better than the execution. You know what I'm going to do? Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to hit him with queen to h4. I'm not only attacking this unprotected knight, I'm not only applying more pressure to this rook, I'm also putting my queen on the same line as his queen, which means I'm threatening very nasty discovered attacks. And at the same time, the guy has no possible ways to check my king. So he puts the knight on g3, which is exactly what we wanted. Actually, this wins the queen, but do we have mate? Like, what if we take on h3 with check? King can't go here, here, or here. King has to go here. We check him here. King has to go here. We check him here. Or the king could have also gone there. But the moment the king goes there, we're going to fork him here anyways, right? Nah. I don't want to miss this, guys. Takes, king up, check, king up. I'm not seeing it, bro. Let's just take with check and grab the queen. If you see it in the comments, just let me know, but I'm not seeing it. All I know is queen is now just dead. So if I take with check, there's king up. So let's just take here. Rook is still under attack. I'm guarding this. Maybe he's going to take here, but can't lose a game ahead by 9 points. All right, so rook takes. I'll get my rook on the same line as his king. If he checks, I'm just going to block. We want all the trades. So he moves away the king, but he puts his king on the same line as my bishop. So now I'm going to use a discovered attack. So knight to g4, the bishop checks the king, the knight attacks the rook. It's very important that you guys understand how important pieces on the same line is. It's the third most important tactical weakness that you guys need to understand. Do I take the rook or do I take the knight? If I take the knight, there's king up. The knight check, there's king takes. Let's just take the rook. Like trying to find a checkmate, but if I'm not seeing the mate, I'm just taking all material. Okay, he resigns. But more modern defense against 1400 level players. Stick around. Opponent is now 1400. We're playing some more modern defense. So bishop goes to g7, and now we're going to play this move, pawn to d6. And basically, in the modern defense, we kind of delay the development of this knight first. So you're going to see moves like a6, b5, bishop b7, knight d7. Eventually, this knight will come to f6, by the way, but we're just trying to gain some space on the queen side, threaten some ideas of attacking, get the light squared bishop on a nice diagonal. And in some other cases, we could go knight to d7, followed by c5. So it's very similar to the perk, as you guys could see, but these a6, b5 ideas aren't really included in the perk. Now he plays f3, we play c5. Now that we've developed 3 or 4 minor pieces, now we can start thinking about, okay, let's just go knight f6 and castle. Because of this battery though, I'm assuming as soon as I play knight f6, he's gonna go bishop h6, to be honest. There is pawn c4 to hit the bishop, but the bishop will simply go back. I think now's the best time to just finish my development. He did play bishop h6. A lot of times it's okay to take on h6 because it misplaced the queen, but it's not something that I have like 100%. I don't fully know exactly what it does. So I'll just castle my king. And usually from here, white tries to start some attack with h4 and h5. And I usually try my best not to allow this. If I play h5, he's able to play g4. And if after all the trades, he's able to play h5. So that's one thing I need to ensure that I'm on the lookout for. But let's still play h5, trying to prevent g4. There's also cases where I'm able to play rook to h8. But since I have a decent space advantage on the queen side, I think my attack is going to come from the queen side and from the center. Ooh, okay. Especially since he decided to castle on the queen side, my attack is definitely going to come from the queen side because already he's giving me a hook. This was me giving him a hook, by the way, but it's a hook that I have control over, even though I'd still play g4 if I was him. But now I'm able to play b4. And we understand what is a hook is, right? A hook is basically using the opponent's own pawn to open lines pointing towards his king. So he didn't take, he moves the knight instead, but we're still... Okay, I kind of want to push this and trap the bishop. So if I take, he's probably gonna push. Let's just go queen c7. I mean, it connects the rooks. I'm threatening to trap the bishop. If he takes thinking he's winning a free pawn, I still trap the bishop. And eventually, if he saw that I'm trying to trap his bishop, I may just take on e3. Okay, he moves the knight. Bishop is not getting trapped, but he's about to be in trouble, bro. Believe. Because once I play c4, hit the bishop, bishop has to move. c3 hits the queen. Like, remember, guys, this is opposite side castles, which means we're always trying to do pawn storm. It's very important that you know the purpose of a pawn storm is to open as much lines. So if I take, he was probably gonna push, but now once I play c3, I'm hitting the queen. Look what I'm doing to his pawns. I'm just trying to get rid of those pawns. Maybe if he moves the queen, takes king over, I'm able to take. I think the best he could do is to try to hide behind my pawns, because after takes queen move, then my plan is to get a queen on the b2 square or get some more pieces in the game. All right, so he moves the queen. Um, if I take, he's gonna go king over. But I am assuming he's also trying to push, so I need to act right now. So let's just take with check, opening some lines. Was expecting him to move the king. And taking here is also possible. The queen is guarding. So let's just use the time to bring some more pieces in the game. Let's go rook to c8 first, targeting his focal point on c2. Remember what focal points are, guys. Any pawns or squares that is around the opponent's king. Okay, that I did not see, but it's just a free knight. Like, it's very important that you guys are always looking out for the opponent's checks. I didn't really look out for that check because naturally I just knew that my king was safe. But if you do not want to blunder, ensure that every possible forcing move that the opponent has, you see them. Because naturally that's how you find the best move, by looking for forcing moves. I guess he's trying to expose my king, missed that my knight could just take. Now I'm threatening c2. I'm just ahead by a piece. Knight to g3 could give me some trade. Maybe he's trying to check. All right, now he saves. Well, he's just defending the pawn. But now once I take, the queen is no longer able to take. Pawn push takes. A sack will not work on the back rank. So let's just take a second pawn. Now we're ahead by 2 pawns. My pawns are kind of protecting his king, but I am ahead in material at the end of the day. Pawn g4, this just does not work. Unless it does. Unless it does. No, it doesn't. I wanted to play here, rook here, and then fork. And if bishop takes, I take, but then his rook is guarding. I'm about to be under attack, by the way. I need to be very careful. I need to think about what's the plan to bring all my pieces in the attack here. Maybe if I check king takes and then I check king takes and then I swing my rook on the file, give him the knight and then try to checkmate him because he will be attacking me once I move my knight. So let's do that. Remember that the purpose of a pawn storm is to open lines. So I shouldn't mind losing those pawns. He took that pawn. I think that was the correct pawn to take. Now I'm able to check him here, force the king to move. Now he's going to take. And basically, I'm just trying to get my rook on the b file. So now that my rook is on the b file, I could still leave my knight hanging. Well, it's not on the b file yet, but if I play rook on the b file now and he takes my knight, I take with check. And then he just has to react to it by, let's say, taking, and then queen a5 is mate. So this is me basically trying to set up a ladder mate. So rook to b8. Remember, this what I'm doing is danger levels, guys. You notice how quickly he took my knight. This is GG's. Because if I check him here, the king gets to run. But I'm gonna basically, this is called a clearance sacrifice. Moving my bishop out the way, basically sacrificing the bishop. And okay, he's also not able to move the king. Blocking with the bishop does not work, which means he has to take with the pawn. He took the pawn. That's a checkmate, but that's also a checkmate. More modern defense against 1500 level players. Stick around. Our opponent is now 1500. Let's play some more modern defense. Maybe I could get another two brilliant move game. Knight f3. Here we play d6. We're just going to play the same set of moves. It also makes it easier for us. Like, I like to play openings where the first 5 moves are always the same, not the London though. Like, the London is for a different side of people who plays chess. But bishop to d3. Now we play b5, bishop to b7, knight d7, pawn c5, regular modern defense, very standard line. All right, so bishop goes to e3. Let's continue developing. There are ideas where I'm able to kick the knight and win the pawn, but since his bishop is guarding it, it will not be working as yet. So he castled the king. Let's develop the knight. Again, we usually play knight f6. Lastly, there's also pawn c5 ideas. Now he moves the queen. I'm really thinking about playing knight f6, pawn b4, kick this knight, win this pawn. But let's just continue with the plan. Let's play c5, gain some control on the queen side, even though he castled on the queen side, so on the king side. So this is not going to be one of those queen side castle game. So maybe I'm just going to target the center of the board, but let's see. Okay, so he plays a3, not trying to allow any b4. There's possibilities of me taking. There's possibilities of me playing c4. If I takes, knight takes, let's just go knight f6. And I'm assuming he's gonna go bishop h6 because everybody likes to play bishop h6. It's the correct idea though. It's usually best to exchange the fianchetted bishop if you're trying to attack someone's king. Okay, now he plays d5. Could be a bit annoying blocking out my light squared bishop, but in some cases, I could always play e6 in the future. Now, there's a very annoying modern defense type of move, especially when a bishop is on e3, and it's to play knight g4. For one, it prevents any bishop h6, but two, it attacks their bishop. And three, if my knight is kicked, I don't have to pull it back to f6. I can always put it on e5, which is a better square for the knight since it's in the center of the board, and it will be attacking this bishop on d3. Okay, rook to b1. I don't have a. I mean, why would you play rook to b1, bro? What does that even do? I guess he wants to play b4, but that doesn't do anything. You know what? Let's just eliminate that bishop. If he takes with the pawns, those are some ugly double pawns. If he takes with the queen, then I mean he's doing fine. I'll just get my king out the center of the board. So he did take with the queen. Now we're castled. Pawn to e5 is not really easy for white to play since I have so much control over the e5 square. And I'm thinking about playing some e6, taking on d5, maybe with a rook on e8, put it on the same line as his queen. I mean, that could be an idea. Okay, he moves the knight. Maybe he wants to play f4 or queen h3 to target my focal point on h7. Either way, I'm fine. Like putting a knight here, I can always chase it away. But I'm probably just gonna wait until he plays queen h3, then I attack the knight because I'm not sure if he's trying to play f4, and if he plays f4, he's gonna lose his queen. So let's just use that time to play rook to c8. I mean, the c file could be open. If he plays queen h3, then I'll play h6. Maybe if he plays other moves, I'll also play h6. I'm heavily considering playing c4 followed by knight c5. Maybe a knight could go on e5. I also want to play e6, by the way, but since this knight is covering the e6 square, or I could go rook e8, then e6. So his plan is to play queen h3. Obviously, we're not going to allow him to just checkmate us that easily. I guess he's trying to force us to push pawns on the side that our king is on. But the fact that I have a dark squared bishop, which is fianchetted, and he'll never be able to get rid of my fianchetted bishop, he'll have no attack. Let's just get this rook in the game. I'm trying to play e6, maybe rook takes, and that will make my light squared bishop a bit stronger, but it will make my pawn on d6 weaker. All right, so knight moves out the way. Maybe now he wants to play f4 since there's no bishop d4. But let's continue with the plan. Let's go with e6. Yes, I'm weakening d6, but I'm not seeing how he's going to be targeting d6. I'm not going to take with the pawn though, because that weakens my king. I'm going to take with the rook, and then all my pieces are going to be active. I mean, this rook is debatable, but let's see. Remember, guys, in terms of how do we activate all our pieces, you have to think about pawn breaks. So now he takes, we play rook takes. There is the possibility of knight d5, but I think I should be able to eliminate that knight easily, by trading it off, maybe capturing it. I don't want to capture it though, but if it's very annoying, then I probably will. F4. No F4. F5 is coming. So let's be a bit careful about that because he definitely wants me to be pushing pawns. Actually, let's pull the rook back so that way if he plays F5, it's not an attacking move. And then I can meet F5 with G5. He's not able to play F6 since I have so much control over the F6 square. I don't know. I think this knight is doing a good job here, but let's see. Because if I move the knight, it loses control over F6 and E5. So he did play F5, kind of wanted him to play F5 because now I'm able to play G5. Remember, guys, this is how you respond to pawn storms. You don't just push pawns on the side that your king's on when you see the pawns coming. You let the pawn get in contact with your pawn while you're using that time to do something else aggressive. And then as soon as the pawn gets in contact with your pawn, you try to push past. Now, there's no F6. My knight will get access to the E5 square. I have to be looking out for f6 the whole time though. So for example, knight e5 pawn f6, and if I takes, there's queen takes. So that's kind of annoying. Okay, he also jumps in with this knight. Um, do I take or do I play knight f6? Because pawn c4, I don't really want to allow. If I play pawn c4 now, he could play f6. And if I, nah. Yeah, I mean, if I takes, knight takes, his bishop is going to be under attack. So let's go with c4. It's an attacking move. This diagonal I could use in the future. And if I take on d5, the pawn on d5 could be a weak pawn. I don't want to give up my bishop for the knight, though. That's the thing. Unless he blunders. Oh, it's actually a nice move that I just played because I kind of forced his bishop on the same line as my rook, which means now once I give up my bishop for the knight, I take his bishop on e2 and I'm winning the game. That is crazy business. So he just didn't take. He just decides to move the queen. Okay, my bishop is under attack. There's always knight f6, it's the queen. There's queen e7, which applies more pressure to this pawn. And anytime he takes, I'm just going to take. And who wouldn't want to trade pieces in this position? Now it's a battery. So I'm hitting this pawn 3 times. That's 1. 2, if he takes on d5, we grab the bishop on e2. Okay, so he didn't take, he defended the bishop, but now I'm able to take. 3 attackers, 2 defenders. I takes, knight takes, I takes, queen takes, I takes. And it's not like he's going to have any discovered attack on my queen or anything. So now we take, just trying to get the pieces off the board. If the queen takes, I take, and then doubling up on the rook on the e file is good. Now my c rook is finally doing something. Okay, so he is trading. Let's just take back here. Doubling up on the e file is the plan. Okay, I was expecting bishop f3. He moves the king instead. Now we double up on the e file. And the moment he moves the bishop, we just trade everything off the board. All right, pawn c3 is to prevent any checks here. Let's bring more pieces in the game. Knight to d3. Very, very cool forking idea. I'm just trying to simplify the game, guys. Like, I'm ahead by 4 points. If you're ahead in material, the easiest way to win a game that you're already winning is just to simplify it. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here. Especially now that he's hitting this pawn, we're just going to go in with the check. And after the bishop takes, before we take the bishop, we trade both rooks off the board. Then we take the bishop. Yes, I'm going to lose this pawn. But basically is if you're ahead by 5 points, it's okay to just trade everything off the board just to be ahead by 3 points. It's still a game that is impossible to lose. I'm targeting this pawn, which I'm expecting him to protect, and then I'll just try to get my king in the game. So he guarded the pawn. Let's try to activate the king. And I know that he's going to want to put his king here, so let's push this to prevent it. Very nice prophylactic move, so that way the moment I attack this pawn, he's not able to guard it. So that didn't do much. Let's now attack the pawn. Goal is just to take the pawn on the next move. That doesn't do much either. Now we take the pawn. And this is just winning, basically. Like all his moves that he's playing is he's kinda like have to play them, you know, and I'm just gonna capture his pawn and queen my pawn or move my king and start rolling my pawns off the board. And he resigns. More modern defense against 1600 level players. Stick around. Our opponent is now 1600, and yes, more modern defense coming your way. So again, we know what the first 8 moves are, right? Bishop goes to g7, pawn goes to d6. It doesn't really matter what they play. Pawn goes to a6, pawn goes to b5, bishop goes to b7. So we hit the bishop. Pawn c3 followed by pawn d4 is cool because there's no knight on c3. But let's continue with the plan. This is the first 6 move. And then he guards the pawn. We go knight c, d7, followed by c5. And that's going to be the first 8 moves of the modern. So as you guys could see, like we're playing this against any setup that they choose. Like this is kind of like some Italian type looking setup where they're probably going to play rook e1, knight d2 to f1 to g3 and get good control over the center. But it doesn't change the moves that we're going to be playing. All right, he develops the bishop. I'll also develop my knight. There's ideas of playing knight g4. I'm also applying pressure to this pawn twice. And if he plays knight to d2, knight g4 becomes it's just a very annoying move. You know, I like to play knight g4 when I play the modern, especially when they allow it. But all he needs to do is move the bishop and then try to attack my knight. Usually it's best when they play d5. He didn't do. He allowed me to take the bishop, which is surprising because now I take the bishop, simply get my king out the center of the board, and everything from here is just chill. Okay, rook e1 puts his rook on the file. Let's just play rook to c8. I'm putting my rook on the same line as his unprotected bishop. So in some cases, I want to take here, knowing that if he takes, he's losing the bishop. Now he needs to be careful. H4. Guy doesn't care. All right, let's just grab this. I think he has to take with the knight. He's just never going to be able to touch the pawn. And if I take, he also has queen takes. So with that being said, let's just go queen to b6, apply more pressure to the knight so that way I could try to win his bishop. I'm basically trying to set up a tactic here, guys. If that doesn't work, then I'll still just try to keep bringing more pieces in the game. Okay, he moves the queen, which means it's more defense on the bishop. It's tricky though, because I have 2 ways to attack his knight. Like if I takes, he's gonna play pawn takes, and the queen guards the bishop. But if I put my knight there and he moves the queen, the rook is no longer on the file. And if I put my knight here and he moves the queen, there's no more bishop takes d4. But I think I prefer my knight on e5, because if f4, he's weakening his king. So queen moves out the way. Assuming h5 is coming very soon, not something that I'm afraid of though. I actually like, because the bishop is a bit wobbly, I'm going to play b4. He's also not able to take since he's going to hang his knight. And if he allows me to take, he's going to have this weak pawn on c3. Ooh, tactic alert, tactic alert. I knew he was going to do some weird stuff like that. The first thing I'm noticing is my queen is now on the same line as his king. That's one. The second thing that we need to think about is danger levels. Offense is the best defense. So the fact that he's attacking my knight, I don't care, bro. I'm just going to take on c3. Because if he takes my knight, okay, maybe there's no tactics here. Maybe there's no tactics here. I thought there was a tactic. Let me think. I thought he was going to take the knight. Okay, maybe there's no tactics here. Can I suck the rook at least and then check? Nah, because once he blocks with the knight, I don't win this, bro. There's no tactics here, guys. Hopefully you didn't pause the video for too long. There is no tactic here. Knight check, there's always knight takes. Rook here, there's rook b1. Yeah, there's no tactics here. Maybe knight g4. Queen takes, I takes, and then check, and then take. That's probably the most aggressive thing that I could do. Knight g4, there's rook b1. Knight g4, rook b1, I just take here with check. I think knight g4 is the most aggressive thing that I could do. It's technically it's still a tactic, but it's not like I'm gaining too much, maybe just a pawn, you know? So basically what I'm doing is I'm attacking the knight. If he takes, kinda was expecting him to do that, but now I'm able to take with check. And okay, maybe he's gonna move the queen out the way. Who knows? But if he takes, my queen comes in. This is hanging. This is hanging. But my bishop is also hanging. But I think he's gonna be losing more material than me anyway. So right now I'm ahead by a pawn. If he moves the king, we grab a bishop. He grabs a bishop. We grab a knight. He's not able to take my knight because the queen has to guard the rook. So king moves out the way, and as we discussed, grab this bishop. We are now ahead by a piece, and if he grabs my bishop, I grab his knight. And my knight is still untouchable. Okay, he grabs the knight first. I think it's the same thing. Or maybe it's not, because if I takes, there's rook here. Ooh, that was smart. He took the knight first. That was smart. That was smart. Hmm. Okay, maybe I'm gonna play f5, hit the queen, because if he takes it, opens the bishop. Since I'm gonna lose it anyways, might as well we take. And after queen takes, we take with tempo. That's one thing I'm looking on. Yeah, let's go ahead and play f5. Another thing is, if he takes, I think then I'm able to take the knight. Because if he attacks my queen first, this is hanging. And if he takes my bishop, his rook is hanging. I think f5 was a nice move because it tries to open this diagonal pointing towards his king. I'm only ahead by a pawn though, so let's see. He did take. That gives us the time to take his knight, knowing that he's not able to take my bishop because of the drawback principle. And any in between move that he plays to attack the queen first, we take on g2 with check. And then we move away our queen, and we should be winning. King is a bit looking tricky here, but after he takes, I may not even have to take back. And I'll find somewhere for my queen, like c3 and back to g7. Okay, he did take, left the rook hanging, so I will take that rook. King has to move. I'm ahead by an entire rook, which means if I got the chance to trade, I'm taking it. But let's just grab this now. Think it's good to take here. Prevents any pawn from coming down. All he has is a check with the rook. But once I move my king, he has no more checks with the rook. He has no queen checks. And being ahead by a rook, I should be fine. The next move that he plays is probably trying to set up a check. And keep in mind, if he moves his queen away too far, he is gonna lose this pawn on h4 with check. So it will be leading to a mate. This is game. So he plays h5 instead. We spoke about this. We take with check. And he has to sack the queen because the king just has nowhere to go. And that's why he resigns. More modern defense against 1,700 players. Stick around. Our opponent is now 1,700. Yes, we're climbing up the ladder. We're playing some more modern defense. All right, bishop goes to g7 here. And let's see if we're going to get the first 8 moves of the modern without him trying to start any attack or sacrifice anything. f4. Interesting. Let's continue with the plan. All right, knight f3, we play a6. We're still continuing with the plan, going for all the moves that we see in the modern. Bishop c4, don't care. b5 is a tempo on the bishop. All right, so he pulls his bishop back. Now we get our double fianchetto. And then after he castle, we play knight to d7 with the idea of playing c5. So we're 7 moves in, all the modern moves so far. He finally did something. But once they do this, there's no knight f6. Usually if there's no knight f6, knight h6 to f5 is an idea. Push, takes, the rook gets the check here. Don't necessarily want to allow that. In fact, I'll play e6. Let's just play e6. And if he takes, I take with the c pawn. So we're not going to be playing c5 here. But since my knight is not able to get to f6, I want to go knight h6 to f5 or knight e7 to f5 or knight e7 to d5. Okay, so he's normal development. Let's develop my knight. Goal is to just get my king out the center. Then he finishes his development, and then I finish my development. If he moves his queen, then he would be connecting his rooks. I can't play a queen move to connect my rooks. So his rooks are also connected. Let's go knight d5, hit the bishop, trying to create some space for my queen, so that way I'm able to connect my rooks. Eventually, you guys are going to be seeing some pawn breaks as well, so that way I'm able to get my major pieces in the game. So now he plays c3. Anytime I play c5, I have to be on the lookout for him taking here. So let's connect my rooks first before we do anything. All right, so he plays b3. I'm assuming the pawn is coming to c4. Let's just go ahead and play c5. Now we're able to play c5, especially since the queen is guarding d6. So he took on d6 first. Let's just take back with the queen. I all my pieces seem active except my rook. So I'm thinking some rook d8, rook c8 ideas. All right, he jumps in with the knight. I'm assuming he wants to take and then take here. Let's just get my rook on the d file. That's what I'm going to do. Now that he takes, we take with the queen. So that way, if he takes on c5, I have a battery on his bishop on d3, and I could simply take on g2 and then take the bishop. So he took, that does not win a pawn because I take and attack the rook. This is called a discovered attack, by the way. It doesn't really matter how he takes back. We take the bishop, and then his pawn on c3 is also very, very weak. Okay, that's a suspicious move. He's guarding the bishop twice. I'm attacking twice. What if I play bishop f3? There is queen, or there is bishop e2, but then the queen becomes overworked at that point. So I'll just play queen to, let's say queen to c7, hit the queen. Bishop d4, though, is always going to be there. That's the thing. Or, or bishop f3, bishop e2, then we take. Nah, that doesn't make any sense. Let's just pull the bishop back. I'm going to try to play queen to c6 and then just get my queen on h1. Like, that should be enough attack. I'm not ahead in material, by the way, but I think his king is not safe and his pawn structure is just not good. So his rook comes in trying to guard this. Plan was to go queen here. Now I'm threatening a check here. Very, very hard to prevent, by the way. He's just going to have to run with his king. Tactics alert. First of all, the only reason why this is not a checkmate is because the queen covers the square. Second of all, the queen is overworked guarding both the mate and the bishop, which means if I sack the rook and the queen takes, that's going to be free, which means both bishops are basically free. But if I check, king up, check, king back, I don't have anything. So we sack the rook. Brilliant move, by the way. And if he moves his queen away thinking, oh, shoot, let me just move my queen and keep guarding the mate, we sack the rook again. He moves the queen. We don't want this bishop anymore, bro. Your king has no running square. That's just a checkmate. More modern defense against 1800 level players. Stick around. Opponent is now 1800. We are playing some more modern defense. Okay, d4, we go bishop to g7. We already know what the first moves of the moderns are. We play pawn d6, we play pawn a6, we play pawn b5. You know, idea is just to get space on the queen side, have decent control over the center of the board. It's basically a very, very flexible opening. We could be playing on both the king side and the center, or the queen side and the center. He's developing. Let's continue with the plan. Already I'm threatening to play b4 and win the pawn, which is why he played bishop to d3. Now I'm going to develop my knight, play c5. Very, very simple idea of the modern. Now we're targeting his pawn in the center of the board. I'm expecting him to castle somewhere. And the moment I move my knight, I'm also expecting him to play bishop h6. So he plays d5. That is gaining some space. Usually I like to play e6, but I like to take with the rook. So let's just go knight f6 and castle here. I'm definitely expecting bishop h6. Knight g4 is a very annoying modern move. Pawn b3 is to prevent c4, but I don't think he needed to do all of that, to be very honest. Like, he's weakening his knight on this diagonal, but let's castle. It's not like I'm able to save this bishop, because now bishop h6, and that's why he took the rook off the diagonal. I'm assuming I could have played b4. Holy shoes, wait, did I just miss that tactic? Oh my god, I could have actually played b4 and then after the knight move I take, bro. I missed that tactic. What the heck? All right, guys, let's lock in. Let's bring the rook in the game. Now, if he plays bishop h6, there's bishop h8, and I'm going to play pawn to e6. So, yes, that was just a tactic that was missed. b3 was just bad. But let's try to lock in and activate all our pieces. So he did play bishop h6, was expecting that move. This is not just about the modern. If you're anytime you have a fianchetted bishop and they try to trade it off, if you're able to pull it back to h8, it's not too bad for you. Now he plays pawn to h4. He's trying to play h5. Nice move, by the way. We have to be a bit careful about his attack. Pawn e6 counters in the center. If h5 I take, if he takes, rook takes, and I'm attacking e4. And if h4, I take on e4. I'm also thinking about knight g4, but I think it's very important that I counter attack in the center. This is just principles. Like, if you notice that your opponent is trying to attack on the flanks, then it's very strong if you're able to counterattack in the center of the board. And that's what I'm doing. You guys are probably going to be seeing this trend of my pawn on d6 being weak. It's very important that you just be aware that the pawn is weak. Not because the pawn is weak mean you're going to lose it. Like, I could just play d5 on the next move and get rid of it, especially since his king is still in the center of the board. Now I have 3 attackers on e4 and he only has 2 defenders. Knight to g5, I'm expecting that would be most annoying. I'll just pull my rook back though. Okay, knight comes in to attack my rook. I'm assuming there's no bishop coming to c4 anytime soon, so I don't think I need the rook here. But I think it's fine if I put it here, just to ensure that this is guarded. There's no knight d5, and then he plays f3, preventing me from taking the pawn. He's also preventing knight g4, but since the pawn is pinned, we will play d5 and apply pressure to that pinned pawn. He's just not able to take, by the way. Whoa, the guy just moved his king out the way. Didn't even castle. All right, this is going to be very interesting. So there's d5 hit the knight. He's going to pull back. Since his king is in the center, I'm trying to open the center. So let's say I take and he plays knight takes. And then I take. He plays knight takes. Tricky, tricky. Because I still have to ensure that I'm ready for an h5 move. But since his king is in the center, I think I should just open the center. I think that's just law. So knight takes. Taking on e4 gives my bishop some room as well. I don't think I want to take though, because this knight is kind of impeding his attack. So let's say we go knight d5. There's some ideas of getting my knight on the c3 square, especially if he allows me to play f5 and attack his knight. There's also knight e4, but I think this is a bit more forcing. Like, the position looks dangerous with his pieces over here, but he's not going to get anything if he's not able to use his major pieces, unless there's a sack on h7 and then h5 that I missed. But I mean, that's very aggressive, by the way. Immediate h5 was played, so maybe he's going to try to sack on f7 next. All right, so we want to check him here. Pawn to f5 hits the knight. Definitely. Let's try to be as aggressive as possible. If he moves the knight, we check him here. Maybe the goal is not just to take the rook, by the way, because there's so much more happening than just trying to win a rook. It's a very complex position. Like, both our kings are super unsafe here. So he took on g6 first, because if I take the knight, he takes here. But let's just take back. His knight is still under attack. The downside of what is happening is his rook has the file pointing towards my king. But that's another reason why I like to pull the bishop back when he plays bishop here. Because if he's not able to exchange the dark squared bishops, then the attack don't work. And my dark squared bishop is still very, very active here. Like, and the other thing is, I decided not to trade on e4 because I also know that he needs to do something with this knight. So he needs to do something with the bishop. He needs to do something with the knight. I'm attacking this knight. I just don't think he has all the time in the world to spare here. And my attack is coming in. Like, my attack is very close. If I was him, I would be looking for some sacrifices, because moving the knight is already just losing. Okay, he moves the king out the way. Still would love to get something on c3. I mean, that is a piece. Why will I not take a piece? After he plays knight takes, bishop to g5 becomes a threat. What if I sack the rook? Takes, knight here. Let's not get too fancy. Like, I'm ahead by a piece. Just play some normal chess now. Bishop to g5, I need to be on the lookout for though. That's definitely need to be on the lookout for that. So let's just say I play. Ooh, rook h7 cannot be bad. It actually pins the bishop because his rooks are not connected. But what if he puts the knight back here? If he puts the knight back there, then that's just a very strong check. Oh, it's not a check. It's not a check. How does this work? All right, I'm going to try it. Let's go rook here. Oh, fudge, it doesn't work. It actually doesn't work. I had a little idea with knight g5, bishop e3. But once he takes my rook, the bishop guards. So knight g5, if I sack, rook takes, the queen is still guarding. This is just a strong move, bro. All right, he played c4 instead. c4. Okay, fair enough. I'm sure he wants his bishop on this diagonal. I don't want to make it easy for him to get there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just play knight b4. Knight b4 immediately hits the bishop. And knight to e5 could be my next move. So knight g5, knight e5, if he takes, I'm able to take here with check. And I should have enough pieces to checkmate that king. What a weird position. I'm ahead by a piece though. It's like, I'm happy it wasn't a scenario where the position is equal and I'm just defending. Okay, he played the knight move that we're afraid of. He hits my rook, I hits the bishop. So I play knight here. He's also attacking this. And we have to sack that rook, but we're getting this in return, and we're also getting the attack on his king. I think it's winning if he takes my rook. It's gonna be a nice tactic alert, by the way. Or maybe not. Let's see. Let's just see. Because if he moves the bishop and we get to trade, I'm sure I'm not getting checkmated here. This is the art of defense. So he did take tactical alert, guys. There's no way this is not a tactical alert. Let's see who is tactical. I mean, obviously we're going to take the bishop, right? So we play knight takes d3. Now, what do we notice? The king can't go here or here, so the king has to go here. What happens the moment he puts his king on d1? He puts his king on the same line as the queen. Seeing that? So at that point, I'm able to, did you find the move? Knight f2 becomes a fork because the queen is not going to be able to take. And I'm also getting the opportunity to trade the queens off the board. So he moves the king. We fork him here. Pin pieces don't protect. And once I take and then take, I should be ahead by a lot of material. Like, I don't think I'm going to be able to take back. And wait, if I take the queen, then wait, I am able to take the knight. Trade the queens to simplify the game. Take the rook. And if he chooses to take back, I take the knight. He literally only has 2 pieces on the board. There's no discovered attack that does anything. Maybe bishop back. But after I move, all he's getting is a pawn. So since we're winning, oh, wait. Yes, we take. Because if he plays bishop takes, I take the rook and the knight is still hanging. This is winning. Nice. This is how you simplify a position. Now I'm just ahead by 5 points. 5 whole points. 2 extra piece. Okay, check we were expecting. Let's just move out of check, giving him that pawn. But with 2 extra pieces, it's just a waiting game, to be honest. Like, if he puts his king somewhere weird, he's forked. All right, king here, my knight is under attack. That is a check. But this move attacks his bishop. Nah, let's not get the knight pinned. Let's just check him here again. I'm trying to trade the last piece off the board. Once the last piece is eliminated off the board, then it becomes an easy win. Yo, I actually had a tactical alert here, guys. I should have checked him here. After the bishop takes, then I fork. That would have forced the pieces off the board. All right, light squared bishop isn't doing too much. Let's go here. Purpose of this is to ensure that the king doesn't really have any forward moves, like king g5, the king is coming in. Okay, pawn to g4. Okay, he probably wants to play g5. I'm just thinking about what I could do to get some pieces off the board. Like, what if I check? He plays king up. Let's just keep things simple. How does this work? Oh, it's rook here. Since we're in the end game, we need to be attacking the pawns. So, and if he plays rook to f1, like, honestly, nah, I'm not gonna sack. But if I sack, it's gonna be winning, but I'm not gonna sack. Because remember when I told you guys that if you're ahead in material by a lot, it's okay to sack back material to keep the game simple. Okay, he still plays g5, and we are going to take the free pawn since the bishop is guarding. The king now has to go here. My bishop is on the same line as his rook as well. So if we takes, king takes, check. No, that doesn't work. Let's just go here and just look to trade some pieces off the board. If he declines the trade, then I should at least be trading the rooks. So this is game. So he did decline the trade, but since my bishop is on the same line as his king, I don't think it matters where I check. Well, my bishop is on the same line as his rook. I don't think it matters where I check. The goal is just to trade and eliminate his rook off the board. And the good thing about this is if all the pawns are traded off and we're left with knight and bishop, the knight and bishop is able to deliver a checkmate. I'm assuming he's trying to roll the board. Let's use the time to bring the king in the game. He's not able to push since I'm preventing that pawn from moving. Now we go here, we take the pawn on the next move. There's just nothing you could do. King moves. Let's grab this. Okay, I'm not expecting him to trade, but I'm going to force it. Okay, he did trade. He's making the game easy for us as well. Now I'm just going to take his pawns and win the game that way. Okay, let's not allow him to take the bishop. And now I'm just going to capture the pawns and then just queen my pawn. Very, very simple chess. I could even start pre-moving stuff up the board. It's just important that I do not stalemate this game. All right, let's give a check. Trying to see if I'm able to, like, cut off his king in the corner. Okay, that would be a stalemate. Let's not allow that. So let's go here, giving his king some square to move. You know what? Let me just create another queen, bro. He has no time on the clock. Now we create another queen. Now this should lead to checkmate. We check him here. The king has to move, and that's just a checkmate. More modern defense against 1900 players. Stick around. Our opponent is now 1900. More modern defense coming your way. Okay, knight f3, we fianchet to the bishop. We're going to play d6 next move. The idea after this is to play a6 followed by b5. And yes, I have made a video explaining the full modern defense theory. It's available for all my members. So if you want to be a member, the link is in the description and you'll get access to that video. Not just that video, but every single opening video that I've made, there is a theoretical video on that. So he develops his knight. There's no b5, by the way, so we have to play b6. And then we're going to go bishop to b7. This is basically the modern defense with d4, but my opponent basically started off with e4. Anyways, let's go knight to d7, e5 or c5. I usually find myself playing more c5 when I play the modern instead of e5. He already created this battery, by the way. So the moment I play knight f6, we're expecting bishop h6. All right, king is castled and out the center. Let's keep developing. There's possibilities of me taking. I'm not going to take just yet. I want to just finish my development and castle. And yes, I was afraid of him playing e5, but I don't think it does too much. There's some ideas of taking the knight, but if I take the knight, I lose the game with pawn takes e6. So let's take this way. And I think it's best if you take with the knight. The thing about this, though, is I'm always going to just play knight g4. So even here, I play knight g4. We hit the bishop, which is a very annoying modern move. I'm threatening this knight, which is one of the main defenders of the pawn. I think if you want to be annoying as well, you should play e6 because I think the pawn is dead anyways. So might as well you just give me the ugliest double pawns in the world. And I may even reconsider taking that pawn. I may even just play knight to e5. Nah, I'm gonna take the free pawn, bro. Okay, he jumps in with this knight. The thing is that knight isn't really doing much. Maybe he's just not trying to get double pawns here. Pawn to e6, there's a check here. So why not just take the free pawn? Take knight takes, hit the bishop. Eventually, I should be able to play e6 and I'm doing fine. I really wanted to give up my bishop for the knight though and double up his pawns, but he didn't allow it. But now he has a lot of stuff that is under attack. This bishop is under attack. It's the main defender of this pawn. The knight is under attack twice. He's only guarding it once, and I'm already ahead by a pawn. Okay, he moves his rook to b1. There's a little trick here. Like if I choose to eliminate his knight now and then take, there's bishop to b5 since my king is exposed. Rook to b1 doesn't really have much to do with rice. But wait, if I kick this knight, right? Because I already have a little attack going. Is this a tactic alert, guys? Let's say I kick the knight right now. He moves the knight and I kick the knight again. Nah, there's knight h5. Let's just castle the king. It's not a tactic alert. Maybe now if I kick the knight, but I'm sure I'm threatening to win at least another pawn here. Okay, so he pulls the bishop back. That's what he did to offer some support to his knight. So now if we takes, I'm not winning any material. Eliminating this doesn't help because the bishop takes and add a defender. I mean, let's just kick this knight out of our half of the board. If it's a case where we have to trade the queens off the board, I'm ahead by a pawn. I'll gladly do it. I think he's gonna go knight f4 here. Maybe knight c3. Yeah, maybe knight c3. Not seeing what the knight does on f4. Ooh, so he moves the knight out of the way. Interesting. I like the idea of playing queen h4 because it does apply some more pressure here. And if he plays g3, queen to h3, and I'm threatening mate. So, but then if queen to h4, bishop to g5 is annoying. Let's stop trying to be fancy and follow chess principles. You're ahead in material, just trade the pieces off the board and swing the rest of your pieces in the game. So now there's only one open file on the board, which means I'm going to try to occupy this file with both my rooks. All right, bishop was guarded. It's probably going to be a deep endgame, like minor piece endgame, where I'm only ahead by a pawn, but I'm going for it any days. It's the only way for me to finish my development is to bring every single piece in the game. Applying some pressure to my knight. It's already guarded though. Let's just double up the rooks. And I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to trade both rooks off the board. Like some players think it gives them a better chance if they're down by a pawn and they're like, you know what, bro, let me just trade all the pieces off the board. That doesn't give you a better chance, bro. Like the more you trade, the easier you're going to make the game for me. Believe. Okay, so we're seeing some trades. Let's just take back again. Every piece is as active as they can possibly be. What's my plan? Not 100% sure. He's also giving up his bishop for the knight, which is kind of crazy here. Would and then he got his rook in the game. All right, this is weird. Let's keep trading, bro. I don't see what he see. Bishop takes. Yo, why can't I give up my bishop for the knight? Because I'm ahead by a pawn, but it doesn't end there, right? His pawns are now doubled and ugly. Look at this. Boom. We're in the end game. The goal is to attack pawns. But since it's a bishop end game, I definitely need to ensure that I activate my king. So I need to get my king to at least e5 or d6. I'm threatening this though. He needs to play bishop e2 or maybe bishop to b3, but bishop to b3 is kind of passive for the bishop. Bishop e2, he needs to be thinking prophylactic. He needs to ask, what's my next move? How do I prevent it? And then play bishop e2. Otherwise, he'll be in more problems. That was not the move. He moves the king, allowing this check, and I'm assuming he's trying to trade the bishops off the board. Again, this is right here. This right here is actually the exact reason why you should trade while you're winning. If you're ahead by only one pawn and you trade everything off the board, mathematically the position is just winning. He's about to get foxed in the chicken coop. I have 4 pawns versus 3, but first step one is to always centralize the king. So let's try to get my king as active as I can possibly get it first. Kind of want to play f5, then king up. I don't want to play king up and then f5. So for example, play f5, preventing his king from moving forward. He's trying to trade the pawns off the board. Okay, that's not bad. That is something that is correct. When you're losing, you trade pawns. Now he moves the king. He's allowing me to make more progress. Look at this. Check. King has to move. And maybe I don't even have to trade the pawns. But let's just keep the tension, just in case. I don't want it to be a case where, the position is all stuck and then my king don't really have any entry points in his half of the board. So let's just play king up, and if he takes, I take back. Once I have more pawns on the king side than the amount of pawns that he has, then I should be able to create a pass pawn. Another thing is, okay, I'm going to wait until he's in Zugzwang actually, because the moment he has to move the king, my king gets access to here. Let's just play h6. This is me. It's not really wasting a move. It's just using one of the moves that I have, because he doesn't really have a lot of moves. I was also thinking about playing b5 so that way my king could run towards this direction. There's also b5 and then b4, so he pushed this pawn. The thing is, however, if I takes king up and then I play king up, this is under attack and that's dead. The thing is, if he plays king up and I take, I don't want, this is me complicating the game. If I takes king up and then if I takes king takes, then I play king up. The best he could do is attack my pawn. But if he does attack my pawn, I grab this, threatening this. And if he takes this, I take this. If he trades first, I take, and then after he trades, I push, and that pass pawn wins the game. That is calculation. Like sometimes a line could be very risky, but don't not play the line because it's risky. Calculate it through and ensure that you just didn't miss anything. And I don't think I missed anything here, but that's what I think. Let's see. So I put the king here. Okay, he took first, which is it's basically what I calculated. If he plays king here, I take, and the position is now just completely winning. And he's not gonna win this pawn, but even if it's a case where he's winning this pawn, it's still the fox in the chicken coop, where I just take this pawn, abandon these pawns, and just run to these pawns, and that's gonna help me to win the game. And he resigns.
Moment of truth. You're playing Akeem, guys. If on the board.
Our opponent is now 2,000, and yes, we are finishing off with a of a modern defense. My opponent is also streaming. Not sure who he is, but hopefully he's able to send me the clip and I'll use this game.
Okay. This is how you punch these guys with this kind of back stuff. I don't know. But I'm going to prove to you guys that Akeem is not that strong. Watch him now.
All right, so he develops the knight. Let's go. Oh, actually, I should have played g6. I should have played g6, then d6, but I played d6, then g6. We're still playing the modern, guys. Don't worry. Like, it started off looking like a perk defense, and again, the perk and the modern, very, very similar. But not because I played d6, then g6 doesn't mean it's not the modern. Okay, now he plays f4. Let's develop the bishop to g7. He's developing his knight. Now we're going for our modern type of setup with a6 and then b5 and bishop b7. Okay, he plays a4 to prevent b5. That's interesting. So I'm going to go b6 instead. I'm still trying to fianchetto my bishop on this diagonal. So he develops the bishop. Let's go bishop e7. applying some pressure here. Pawn d3, he's developing very, very rapidly. Let's go knight d7. Same idea. Pawn c5 could come in the future. Like he's playing more of a Grand Prix attack type of business with this pawn on f5. It could come to f4 in the future, and it could be very, very annoying if I'm not careful. So if I play knight f6, I have to ensure that I'm ready for pawn e5.
I think this guy made castle down.
So what I'm probably going to do instead is actually to play pawn e6. I don't want to play e5 because after the trade, I'm opening up the f file. So let's just play e6. Yo, it's funny. I may just be playing the hippopotamus defense, which is crazy, but this could happen sometimes. Like, okay, we're afraid of playing knight f6 due to e5, but the pawn on e6 guards the d5 square. So now if I play knight f6 e5, I can probably put my knight on the d5 square. I'm thinking about playing knight e7 castle and then d5 though, because that could give me some attack.
Okay, f5. Pawn takes. I can take.
Ooh, aggressive. Aggressive. You see that? F5. He's actually trying to open the F file to start his attack. My pawn here is already under attack twice. The good thing is I haven't castled as yet, so I may just eventually move my queen and run to the queen side. But let's see what's happening here. I think it's best if I take here, because I do not want his rook on the F file. I want a pawn on the F file, so that way his rook is not too active. Now, pawn to d5 I like since it hits the bishop. If takes, the bishop is still under attack. I need to be aware of any knight moves with any ideas of checking my king though. So that's a bit risky. Maybe I should play queen e7, but after the trade, rook e1, knight e5, pawn d4 is also risky. But I think queen e7 is fine.
So I'm opening up the board because I'm already castled in. I'm proving to you guys I can beat a CM.
Because I'm just trying to run, to be honest. Queen e7, there's knight g5, pawn d5 hits the bishop. If takes, knight takes, should still be able to take, and then just put my knight in front of my queen. Or I could play e5 here. I think I should just play e5. Because if I play e5, there's no f6, and I could always play knight f6. It's just this diagonal I'm a bit worried about. So e5, knight g5. If knight g5, I should be able to play knight f6 or knight h6. And if queen h5, okay, we have to ensure that we're looking out for f6. This is a bit dangerous. I think it's the best bet. I think it's the best bet because I'm not trying to open the position too much. And since my king is in the center, I'm sure he's trying to open the center. So now my f7 pawn becomes a real target. Like, I'm not expecting him to sacrifice because once I put my king on f8, I should be safe. Unless takes, check, king back, that's a fork. Whoa. Takes, check. So maybe I have to play king e7. It's weird, guys. It's very, very weird. I just want to move my queen and just run. I just want to get castled. That's all.
Are you stopping this? Too easy, man.
I think he's calculating this sacrifice, so I need to calculate it as well. Like takes, check. Like, where do I move my king? Because pulling it back, okay, he's trying to open the center. That's also a fair move. That's also a very, very fair move. I mean, if takes, I have many ways to take back. E4, I'm probably not gonna play. Let's say knight now. Knight e7, that kind of becomes scary. There's knight f6, bishop g5 is an annoying pin.
I feel like I have an advantage,
But I think the best thing that I could do for my position here is just to finish my development. So let's just do that. Let's just develop the knight. Like if he takes, I may just play knight takes and then pawn takes. And I don't I don't mind trading queens here because if anybody is attacking someone, I think he's the one who's trying to attack me. Knight to g5, I shouldn't worry about now since I'm able to castle, even though I have no g pawn. What am I most worried about? This sack I still have to consider. Like takes, check. But maybe now I'm able to play king to g8, so that's not too bad. So bishop to g5 is what I'm most worried about here because even if I play h6, he's able to maintain the pin.
King and the bishop. What? If I take this pawn, king takes, I give a check. King moves here. I fuck the queen and the bishop. He's gonna defend the bishop. Maybe a check. Yeah, this must be weak.
So he did sacrifice. We have to take. And if once the knight comes in, if I go here, I'm fork. Going to e7 is kind of fine, actually. I was thinking about going to g8 And then I think he's gonna play knight e6 regardless, but I think e7 is safe to be honest. Because after e7, once he takes, I'm taking back with the pawn or even the knight. Knight goes here, hits the queen, and then I play, let's say, queen to g8.
Yeah, I think I'm winning. I don't know how, but
Okay, that is a pawn. So king here, knight here. No, maybe it has to be king here then. King here, knight here, queen here. Or should I be worried about losing a pawn? I don't think I should be worried about losing a pawn, right? Like, where does my king belong? King here, knight here, king here, knight here, queen here takes, queen h5, and just get the queens off the board. I think that's what I'm going to do. And after the trade, if he takes my rook, I just take back. And it's going to be one of those scenarios where
yeah.
I have a knight and a bishop, and he has a rook, which I'm going to take that trade any day because my king is not safe, and I don't want to just be playing ahead by a piece with a very uncomfortable position. So knight, oh no, 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 no. It should have been king g8, then I go here, then I go here. Because once he puts the knight here, no, this is under attack. Why didn't I play king to g8? All right. Knight here, we must play queen here because we do not want to lose an entire piece. So this is now just forced. And then he's going to take, and I'm not going to get the chance to trade the queens. And since I don't get the chance to trade the queens, I may have to just move my rook, hit the knight, and then he puts the knight back, and then he has the annoying knight, and the queens are still on the board. But after I play queen to g8,
Long time.
there is some target on his g2 focal point, which means a simple move like bishop h6 is already threatening a checkmate on g2. All right, so he did play knight takes. My rook is under attack. I don't see an issue with just getting my rook out of attack first. Bishop h6. I mean, bishop h6 is also not a hard move to defend against. So, but I think I'm going to do it though because the position is a bit claustrophobic. There's also no pin if I go bishop h6. So bishop h6, I'm expecting a defensive move. If he takes, I'm always able to take back. I'm just never going to move this knight because I don't want this knight coming in. So bishop h6 is very strong. It's actually threatening a mate. I actually like this position because it is actually the position where, oh, I'm ahead by a piece and I'm just chilling.
What? Oh, cheap tricks.
Even though had no issues trading the queens off the board, by the way, and just give the guy the rook and take the two minor pieces. But now he has to defend. And after a defensive move, I may still look after the trade. We definitely have to trade. I may still look to get the queens off the board with some ideas of playing rook to g8 because I still have to ensure that all my pieces are active.
Context. Got the discovery.
So the queen guards, we eliminate the bishop, and then we play queen to g4. Why? We're ahead in material, so we will be trading everything off the board. Every chance we get, we're going for the trade. I'm ahead by a piece. They're saying it's only one pawn or 1 point. But if you're ahead by a piece, still trade because once you get to the end game and you have that extra piece, you're gonna be just capturing all his pawns anyways. So he's just not gonna trade, which is the smart thing to do because he's down by a piece, but now he's allowing me to get my other rook in the game. And if you guys look on the position, every single piece is doing something. This is what you guys need to be playing for. All right, pawn g3. Expected move again. Knight e4 hits the queen. If he takes, queen takes, we're threatening mate on the back rank. Very annoying mate to prevent. I don't see why I wouldn't just jump in with the knight here. Oh, I could also sack the rook and then play queen e4. Oh.
Maybe this game was suck.
Sack the rook, play queen e4. I am going to checkmate him on the next move. He has no checks. He has to put this queen somewhere. It's not here. It's not here. So it's either here or here. At that point, I check. No, it's not here. So it has to be here. At that point, I check him here. Oh my God. Tactics alert. The king comes here and then I check him here. But what next though? Let's say the king goes back. Oh, then I check him here. Brilliant sacrifice. Rook takes c3. Brilliant sacrifice. And this is what happens when people start pushing pawns on the side that their king's on. You see how strong my light squared bishop is? Very, very nice tactic. Very nice tactic. So now we put the queen here. I'm threatening mate here. The only thing he's able to do to not get checkmate is to move his queen. Now, if he puts the queen on f3, he's basically just giving me back extra material that I sacrificed. If he puts the queen here, that's mate. If he puts the queen here, I check, force the king on f2, then we check him on e4, and that's a fork. But then after he moves his queen, I have to check him first. But he's basically just giving me back the material. So now I'm just ahead by 4 points. Very, very nice. All right, my bishop is under attack. Let's just attack his pawn. It's funny, his knight is actually trapped. Look at this. Once I take, oh, never mind, it's not trapped. It's able to go here. But let's just hit the knight, force the knight to move, grab this free pawn. I'm basically looking to trade every piece off the board at this point. He's hitting my rook. That's another free pawn. Yeah, that is another free pawn guarding the rook. There's knight e4, which is coming in as well. Now we're ahead by 6 points. He checks my king, but I block the check with a check. And to try to trade, okay, let's go here. Nah, let's just try to trade more pieces off the board. If he takes, I just stay back. Ooh, I'm also threatening to fork here because the pawn on c2 is pinned.
Check. Oh, Abanach.
All right, he moves the knight, preventing this. That is, ooh, that's a fork, bro. Do not be getting forked. Let's just move this king out of the way. Okay, now he's pinning me here. Let's move the king out of the way, guard the bishop, break the pin.
I think I'm gonna resign him. Good game.
And he resigns.
Good game.